could it be? For me, you're me, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. So, Eric Bieniemy made a big first impression on the fan base. The results are in. You're going on all the social media sites. You're listening to a lot of the feedback from fans of the team. And I don't think there are many people that are uninspired by the hire at this point. Now, you'll have some fans that, and I'm not upset at them. I don't blame them. You'll have some fans out there that say, hey, look, we've been down this road before. We got excited about Ron when he was hired. We got excited about this guy and this guy and that guy. And they're not wrong. We've done this before. We got excited about Carson Wentz last year. All right. Or we tried to generate excitement and we tried to make it make sense. And I'm not going to lie to you. I thought if we could just, and that was always my thing, if we can just get the Carson Wentz from Indy. I wasn't even looking for the 2016 iteration. Just give me the Carson from, Indianapolis a season ago. We should be fine. Of course, we did not get that. But to those people, I say, touche. I got nothing for you. I mean, we've been down this road before. And I told you earlier when we had instant react to his presser that I'm guilty as charged. After the Jacksonville game last year, I said, this feels different. It wasn't. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this feels different because we've done that song and dance before. What I'll tell you is that he's exactly what we need at this current juncture of the process that we're in with Ron Rivera. And we'll talk about a number of different things tonight. Obviously, the bulk of the conversation tonight will be surrounding Eric Bieniemy, his hire, what it means moving forward, and so forth and so forth. There's some other things that we'll get to. We got some Daniel Snyder news in terms of the sale of the team. We got a little bit of an update. And I told you, this is one of those particular topics. Normally, with topics, no news is good news. Not always the case in football. Like when you don't hear anything about a contract, that's not always a great thing. Sometimes it is, because usually in negotiations, if you're hearing something, generally it's not good. It's the team putting out this number or saying, hey, we offered this guy XYZ, and that guy's camp shoots back and says, hey, yada, yada, yada. And you don't want negotiations being done through the media. But in any event, usually no news is good news. Not with the sale of the organization, not with the sale of this team. We need all the information we can get. We've got an update, so we'll talk about that. Several of you have hit me up already on socials. This is one of the things that I think I detest with this fan base is every single time someone gets released, I get added. Okay. Taylor Lewan gets released, I get added. Bobby Wagner mutually agrees to part ways with the Rams, I get added. Every single player that gets released that has a name doesn't have to end up here in Washington. Okay. We've had these discussions already, but we'll have a couple more tonight and so much more, So I'm going to start with Eric Bieniemy, the presser. We talked a lot about what was said. I really want to point you in the direction of something that I'm not going to be able to address tonight. Kind of ran out of time, kind of taking in all the information and doing all the things to prep for the show. However, I really want to point you in the direction. There's a 21-minute clip on the Washington Commanders YouTube channel where it starts with Terry McLaurin for roughly, 6 minutes or so talking about the hire of EB. It's Sam Howell and how he was impressive in that final start of the season and what the hire of EB means for this football team and what it means to Terry. And then it transitions into Ron, and Ron speaks for roughly 13 minutes or so. It is as candid a 13-minute interview as you will see. It's a media scrum, so it's about as candid a media scrum. And normally, I've said this already with Ron. Ron is very candid this time of the year. Now, I always tell you this time of the year, it's lion season. Believe half of what you see, none of what you hear, even if it's spat by me, your man Louie T. With that said, this has nothing to do with lion season right here. This is all actual factuals. Okay, Ron's literally taking you through the process of what he was thinking as he was trying to determine who the next offensive coordinator of this team is going to be. And he literally walked you through his thought process, the steps that he took, each and every step of the way, the process and what he was thinking, watching them playing in the playoffs, and why he interviewed Anthony Lynn and why he wanted to get, Eric Bieniemy here. You need to hear that if you haven't already done so. Do yourself a favor. And I may ultimately go back, break up the pieces that I think are impactful, and do a short video on that because it was such good information. Okay. Very insightful. So if you haven't listened to that already, please do yourself a favor and check it out. And I still may go back and do something with it, but I just wanted to throw that caveat out there as well. But Eric Bieniemy, big day today, introduced as the new offensive coordinator / assistant head coach. I don't think you can knock it out of the park any better than he did today. Made a great first impression on the fan base, the players that were in attendance. We'll have a brief discussion about that a little bit later on in the show. But I don't think you can have a better, introductory presser than he put on today. I mean, again, you don't win games in February, March, April, May, June, or July. And so I'm aware of this, but you would like to make a great impression, for your first time in a new environment. But this means nothing. I have to make sure that I stress this. Nick Sirianni had one of the worst press conferences in recent memory, and the man was coaching in the Super Bowl last, week or week and a half ago. All right. And the year before that, he was in the playoffs. So he's been in the playoffs each of his first two seasons and was in the Super Bowl just a couple of weeks ago. All right. And he had a terrible introductory press conference. So again, I don't want to make too much of this because you don't win anything in February. But Eric Bieniemy's track record speaks for itself. He already, laid that out during his presser today. And I'm excited personally because of some of the things that he's been conveying since he got here. And the messaging has been very succinct. It has been very direct. And it's exactly what we were told we were getting. And so it has been no false advertising to this point. Again, we still have to reserve judgment until he gets out there and actually starts, taking over the play calling duties, and we get to see the product on the field. But, just off of what we were told we were getting, I'd say so far, so good. So there were a couple of things that stood out to me during the press conference, and I went back. Obviously, when you come in, you have your presser to introduce yourself to the media, to the fan base, to the players, et cetera, et cetera. You go through the full gamut, right? You go through the entire car wash, if you will. Okay. You come in, you do your presser, get the little scrum with the media, the local media, introduce yourself to them. Then you go off and you do the team thing. So he did the thing with Julie. And so you get all of that stuff out of the way, right? It's a whirlwind. And so I went in, I took in all of that information as well. And again, the messaging remained consistent, but I want to play you a couple of clips of some of the things that I thought stood out at the presser, but more importantly, you're continuing that message. One of the things that I was such a fan of with Joe Gibbs, 1.0 and 2.0, was the message was always the same. It never wavered. You knew what you were getting, and he was consistent. And so you never had to worry about what the hell is Joe talking about. You knew, right? You knew he was going to prop up the other team, make them seem like they were the 85 Bears, right? You knew it was the Arizona Cardinals, the Phoenix Cardinals. Then doesn't matter. He was going to make them sound like they were the 85 Bears defensively, and they got all this talent on offense. And if you don't look out for these guys, they can get you. We're going to need every single one of you guys to show up, and have the stadium rocking at RFK, because we're going to need you, right? The message was consistent, and it was each and every single week, and we knew what we were going to get. Not the case with Ron, right? At one point, judge me on winning, and the next time, it's not all about wins and losses. We see this, contradictory with him from time to time, just with however the wind blows from time to time. So it was nice to hear consistent messaging from Eric Bieniemy. And I've gone back and I've watched pressers from Kansas City. Obviously, I took in the introductory presser today, listened to him talk to Julie. The messaging is consistent, all right? So I want to play you a couple of clips from his one-on-one sit-down with Julie Donaldson during the command center. And these are some of the things that I told you stood out to me in the presser, and hearing it again in a one-on-one setting. I want you to take a listen as he talks about, again, and certain things get to me. It bothers me. And this is why I don't take in a lot of national media conversations, because I don't think they really know what's going on out here. This organization is low-hanging fruit, and we have earned the comments and the different ways that they dismiss us. They don't add us in on certain, chyrons and different paraphernalia for the league. People were upset about the Super Bowl, and they didn't even put the logo up there. They put an NFL shield instead of the Washington Redskins logo. And that stuff bothers people, right? It gets to them. I try not to take in a lot of that stuff, because I know this is the environment that we created. So they don't know what's going on out here, because why would I be watching Washington Commanders if there's no connection for me? If I didn't used to play for the team, or I'm not assigned to watching them specifically, or I used to play for one of the coaches on the staff, so I keep tabs on what he's doing. If there's not a direct correlation as to why you're watching the Washington Commanders, then you have absolutely no reason to watch, which means you have no idea what's going on out here. So when I hear national pundits talk about we don't have any talent, that shit bothers me, because we know the truth. There have been plenty of times where we didn't have any talent, okay? And we stunk, and that was warranted, but that's not the case anymore, especially on offense. So in saying that, it was refreshing to hear him come in and understand that, hey, there's talent here. I'm not worried about that. It's about getting the talent to perform at the level that they're capable of performing at. And my biggest thing has always been with Scott Turner, I need you to adapt and adjust to the talent that we have. Your system may be great for XYZ player, but those players may not actually exist on this particular team. And so what you need to do is take your concepts, marry them with the talent that you have, and what you should spit out is an offense that allows these players to be put in the best positions to succeed. And not often enough did that take place. So I want you to listen to a few clips from Eric Bieniemy with his one-on-one sit-down with Julie Donaldson. The first clip that I'm going to play you, Julie asked him about potential. And that's a word that is dirty in NFL circles. A lot of people don't like, in the NBA, people love to talk about potential. Okay. That's what gets you drafted in the lottery is potential. We could be talking about you as a high school player. You might not have had a great collegiate career and it might have only been 1 year. And we can make excuses for that. Oh, it was COVID. Oh, he had an injury. Oh, the coaching was terrible. We can make excuses because we know you have potential. So we're going to draft you at 8 when you probably shouldn't be drafted until the late first round. We're going to draft you in the lottery in the top 10 because of your potential. That's not a dirty word in the NBA. In the NFL, potential is a dirty word. And we've heard, a wise man once told me, son, your potential is going to get me fired. Okay. So Julie asked him about potential and she references it being a dirty word. And he's like, yeah, you got to kind of be careful. You'll hear him reference the potential and needing to make sure that that's not something that we continue to talk about potential. We're trying to get the most out of you. I don't want to hear about what you possibly can do. I'm trying to get you to do it. But I want you to listen to him talking about adjusting to the talent on this football team. Take a listen.
I think you have to be careful with that. And like I said, I'm still going through the evaluation process, but I also have to say as a fan, because I'm still a fan of football, and a number of these guys I've had an opportunity to evaluate when they came out of college. You can't help but be a fan of the young talent here. Now, I just got to make sure that we're putting it together the right way and giving these guys the best opportunity to be successful. But that's a part of the evaluation process as well. So I got to make sure that I go back and take a look at every position, making sure that I can have a set plan and put it together the right way for these particular players.
So that clip speaks to me. That clip is everything that Scott Turner was unwilling to do here in Washington. Okay. And I'm going to double down on that. I'm going to play another clip that emphasizes the talent that is here and doing what is necessary with that talent to get the most out of it. Again, take a listen.
What can we expect from the system and the plays you will call?
Well, I think more than anything is just utilizing the guys and allowing them to be themselves, because you always want their personalities to show, but just putting them in the best situation so they can be the best player that they can be to give us the great, a great deal of success. So it's a system just like everybody else's. We're going to run it. We're going to throw it. But when it's all said and done with, we're going to be flexible and creative with it. And we're going to allow these guys to let their personality show and be the very best to who they need to be.
So remember I told you guys about that 13-minute or so clip of Ron Rivera. It's 21 in totality with Terry, Ron, and then Jahan brings up the rear of them, a media scrum after this EB presser. In that 13-minute clip from Ron, roughly, he explains the 2-to-1 ratio that caught a lot of heat. He caught a lot of flack for it, right? When his GM, Martin Mayhew, said they want to be a 2-to-1, run to pass ratio team. And I told you, Ron's a lot of things. Dummy isn't one of them. He hears everything. A lot of people do the whole, I'm not on social media, so I don't know. But everybody, his daughter's on social media. Ron watches television. He reads newspapers. He's no dummy. He knows what's being said, right? And we lost our minds when we heard the 2-to-1 ratio, especially when you're a team that's scoring 18 points a game, right? That's the last thing you want to hear is we want to run the football 2-to-1 because we're not scoring points. So Ron clarified it in that, 13-minute, clip or so. And so that's why I tell you, it's a really candid clip that you need to take a listen to. And as I mentioned, I may go back, chop up the pieces that I think are most pertinent and discuss them with you. But I want to piggyback off of that sentiment because one of the things that we were really disgusted with Scott Turner about was his inability to have a feel for the game. You may go into the game saying, hey, this is what we want to establish. And early on, you may realize that's not happening today. Then you need to make a sharp turn, adjust, and maybe it's a 42 pass game. Maybe it's a 42 rush game. Okay. Whatever it takes to win, that's what needs to be done in that particular week. And when you watch teams like the Chiefs, when you watch teams like the Rams, when you watch teams like the Packers, these teams that have been perennial powerhouses on offense year after year after year, one of the consistent themes is, look, we do whatever it takes to win, and we don't care about statistics. Patrick Mahomes' statistics, they weren't eye-popping in the Super Bowl, and you could make excuses for that. Didn't have the ball in the first half, had the injury, and that might have stunted some of the things they wanted to do. You can make a ton of excuses, but at the end of the day, he got it done. Jalen Hurts' numbers dwarfed that of Patrick Mahomes, but he got it done. That's all that anybody cares about, right? I want you to take a listen to Eric Bieniemy talk about doing whatever is needed to win football games.
I'll say this. We're going to do whatever it takes to win. And when it's all said and done, we're going to play complimentary football. We want our guys to not fall into the idea that, hey, we have to do this. No, we got to do whatever it takes to win. That's the most important thing. So, yes, we will run it, and yes, we will throw it. But when it's all said and done, we're going to do whatever is needed to help us to accomplish the goal.
So, obviously, I felt like whomever took this job, you were taking it with the assumption that Sam Howell is the guy, right? It's a package deal. You come here and you're getting Sam Howell. Similar to Ron, when he came here, you're getting Dwayne Haskins. Figure it out. Same thing with Jay Gruden. He came here, you're getting Robert Griffin III. Figure it out. That's kind of what we have going on with Sam Howell right now. I feel a lot better about him than I did the previous two quarterbacks. That was a package deal, like I just referenced, when those coaches came in. I feel a lot better about Sam Howell and his potential and what he'll be able to do. And you wonder how much of Sam Howell did Eric Bieniemy watch, or was he exposed to? Because again, football coaches have tunnel vision more so than any other sport. Okay. It's a very demanding grind. Basketball coaches, they watch a bit of tape. It is what it is. They got time to watch other games around the league. NFL coaches, you are absolutely swamped when you start preparing for an upcoming opponent. It is around the clock preparation for that team, and it's that team and that team alone. You're only watching that particular team against the teams they've played. So if you're an offensive coordinator, you're watching, the Bears, who are your upcoming opponent. You're watching their defense against XYZ's offense, right? All these offenses that they've played against to see what they've struggled with, what you can try to take advantage of. You're not worried about anything else. You're not watching Monday Night Football. You're not doing this. You're not allowing any of that to infiltrate what you're focused on. You have tunnel vision. How do we beat the Bears? How do we put our team in the best position to win on Sunday? So there's not a lot of watching Sam Howell, and the good thing is there was only one game. He could have watched that one game of Sam Howell on the flight to Washington. He's had time to watch that one game and digest it. But he talked to Julie one-on-one, and I'm not going to play you that clip, okay? But he talked to Julie one-on-one, and he said, I scouted him. I was very familiar with him coming into the league out of North Carolina. I know a lot of people at Chapel Hill that I have leaned on, have talked to, feel like I already know the kid. Sam was in attendance at the presser, right, which is a great first impression. And he said, Sam's going to have to compete. Not going to just give him the job. We don't want anybody being complacent, and we don't want anybody taking anything for granted. That's what happened to Dwayne Haskins. He didn't have to compete for that job. Ron said he did, but in all actuality, he didn't. But Sam is going to have to compete. They're bringing in a veteran, whether that's Taylor Heineke or some other retread out there. They're bringing in a veteran that won't win the job away from Sam Howell, but he will push Sam and force him to show up and compete at a high level every single day. With that said, you still want to know does EB really believe in Sam Howell? I think we got some bit of insight as to some of the qualities that he likes. Clearly, he watched the game against Dallas, which was a big reason why we're excited. I want you to take a listen to what he had to say during a media scrum about Sam Howell.
Well, I can only base my evaluation on what he did coming out of college. Now, I did have an opportunity to see him play in that last game against the Dallas Cowboys. The kid is a dynamic football player. He can make throws from different platforms. You can tell he has a baseball background. The thing that got me fired up was when he ran in on that touchdown. He flexed, so that was some good stuff.
So there's a lot to like with a lot of those answers. The ones that stick out to me are the ones that I've been clamoring for. And look, we all have philosophical beliefs. As fans, there's certain things that you look for that I may not look for. That's your preference, okay? There's certain things that are buzzwords for me. There's certain things that I'm looking for in an offensive coordinator. And one of the biggest is adjusting to your talent. I can't stress this enough because, again, every team doesn't have the same amount of talent. The Tennessee Titans, what they've been able to do with Mike Vrabel as their head coach has been nothing short of magnificent because they haven't had a lot of talent. Literally, it was A.J. Brown. Usually they have one solid tight end, and then it was Derrick Henry. And that was their offense. And you know what they did? They adjusted their offense to the talent that they had, which wasn't a lot. We're going to run the football with Derrick Henry, which is going to force you to bring up extra defenders in the box. We're going to get one-on-one with A.J. Brown. We're going to throw slants. We're going to throw go balls. He's going to get one-on-one because you've got that extra defender dedicated to the box. And we're going to make you defend A.J. Brown, or you're going to have to defend Derrick Henry. You cannot do both. And just when you thought it was safe, we'll drop it off to the tight end, and we'll hurt you there as well. They adjusted to their talent. Didn't have much, but the talent that they do have, they take advantage of it. And that's what you have to do in this league, is you have to adjust. You can't just say, well, this is my scheme. Scott Turner goes to Tennessee and says, well, I don't care you got Derrick Henry. This is how we're going to run it. We're going to go in the gun, not going to go under center, right? We're going to go in the gun. We're going to run a lot of mesh concepts. And if Derrick Henry only gets 11 carries, he gets 11 carries. That's how you get fired, right? You use what you have to get what you want. And so when I hear the buzzwords, maximizing talent, getting the most out of players, allowing them to have personality, want them to have fun, adapt to what guys do best. These are the things that I want to hear. Now, it doesn't always work. Joe Judge said the same shit. Joe Judge said the same thing, and he didn't adapt shit. Okay? But, again, EB, this is the difference. He was with a winning program, okay? And you can say, well, Joe Judge was with, Urban, he was with Nick Saban, and he was with Bill Belichick. He wasn't calling shit. He was a special teams coordinator, okay? It's a big difference. Eric Bieniemy was a part of the most dynamic offense this league has seen over the last 5 years. No Tyreek Hill, no problem. You just add in 3 extra dudes to take the place of one, and we keep the party going. He knows offense. And in one of those clips, you heard him say, look, we'll do whatever. We want to play complementary football. But we're going to do whatever it takes to win. And if that means taking our 3 receivers and having them star in that particular game, so be it. If it means that those guys don't necessarily get a ton of targets in that particular week, but we win, so be it. There were games this season where we won and people were complaining, Terry only had 2 targets. I don't give a shit. We won. Should Terry have more targets? Sure. And there's no excuse for that, to be honest with you. I've stressed this before. There's no excuse for a guy like Terry McLaurin to only have 2 targets in a game. But If he only has 2 targets and we win, hey, next week get Terry the ball. That's how I feel about that. Now you lose and he only has 2 targets. Now we have a problem. But I don't see that happening. There haven't been many games where Travis Kelce had 2 targets. There aren't many games where Tyreek Hill had 2 targets. Their best players always got the football. And you'll hear Ron, if you go and watch that clip, if you haven't already done so, you'll hear Ron talk about the little things that he saw, and he says, our guys can do that. We ran some of those similar concepts. We can do that. I remember just 2 years ago, 2 short years ago, I asked you guys the same question I ask you every postseason. Watch the games, and I want you to come back and tell me what you took away from these games in the playoffs, and tell me what you think about what you saw in reference to what we are and what we can or can't do. Okay? How does it relate to us? And I remember telling you just 2 years ago, watching the playoffs and telling you it was Bills and Chiefs. And I said, the thing that I learned is that we don't have anywhere near the amount of talent that these teams have. Their ability to quick strike, their ability to have dynamic playmakers with the football. We don't have it. We don't have anything that remotely looks close to what these teams have. The Bills and the Chiefs and the Bengals. We didn't have anything that looked remotely close to these teams. The Rams, the Packers. Nothing about our offense looked anything like those teams' offenses. You fast forward 2 years, and our offense looks exactly like those teams' offenses. We have every bit as much talent as those teams do, minus the quarterback position. And now you can throw the offensive line in there as well. But when we talk skill players, you're talking, I told you, I'll take our 3 against anybody's 3 in the league now. We may not, stack up with Cincinnati's 3. All right. But I'll take our 3 against anybody's 3. We may not win every single battle at the receiver position, but we're going to put up a hell of a fight, and there won't be many times we're going to lose. But we're not beating Cincinnati's 3, okay? There may be 1 or 2 other teams in the league where you're probably not going to beat them either. But there aren't many. Our tight end position isn't there yet. But it's not because we don't have talent. I think it's because we weren't catering to the talent that we do have at the tight end position. That's a Scott Turner thing. Ron talked about Logan Thomas being healthy and how he feels like this is a young tight end room. And there's been a lot of conversation around Logan Thomas being released. I told you, Logan Thomas isn't going anywhere. I don't see that happening. Didn't sound like he was going anywhere if you listen to Ron. Now, again, it's lying season. But Ron wasn't asked specifically about Logan Thomas. He didn't have to throw Logan Thomas's name out there. Our running backs, I love them. And I think if you ask me what position is going to benefit the most from Eric Bieniemy showing up, I'll tell you it's the running back position. Because I think if we even narrow that focus to what player benefits the most from Eric Bieniemy being here, I think if he is able to withstand the coaching, take to it, and grow and learn and develop under the tutelage of Eric Bieniemy, who has been a running backs coach in this league for many years, it's Antonio Gibson. With Bieniemy being around a plethora of backs that have various skill sets, from Adrian Peterson to Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jerick McKinnon, with all of these different backs that he's been around in his career. Jamal Charles, the list goes on and on and on. He knows what a successful NFL running back looks like. And he also knows how to get the most out of a guy with a unique skill set like an Antonio Gibson. I'm probably as excited for Antonio Gibson, AG, Gibby, as any player on the roster right now. Because I know there won't be many games where he only has 9 touches. And there were games last season where they just absolutely forgot about him, i.e. the Bears game last season, i.e. the Titans game last season, where you just go, what the hell was that about? Like, seriously, I get it. Brian Robinson is back. You want to get him involved. Don't forget about 24, though. I don't think we're going to have to worry about that. And yep, there's a place for Brian Robinson, and he'll get his touches. But I think you're going to see a more dynamic backfield this year, which will lead to some opportunities for the receivers. So I'm really excited about the possibilities that exist. Again, we got to see it all come to fruition. But I think there's a chance for this offense to be everything that we think it could be and then some. I think there's a chance that conversation that we had last year about this offense scoring 30 points, or more. I think I said the number was 6 times last year. And we were going to be a dynamic and explosive offense. And one of these offenses that you fear, and in any given week, you can get 40 put on your skull. And we could have juice dripping down our forearm because we just took a nasty, vicious, flavor delicious bite out of a 40 burger. I could see that happening. Again, got to fix the offensive line. Sam Howell has to play well. And obviously, most importantly, our offensive coordinator, Eric Bieniemy, can't wet the bed. But the question I want to pose to you tonight is, with all the things that you heard, all right, we had a chance to digest this presser, take in all of the festivities of the day. Have your expectations for the upcoming season changed? If you were on the fence about the hire, do you now feel a lot better after listening to him speak? Where are you on that? Want to hear from you guys and gals out there. Got a couple more things that I want to throw out into the atmosphere before we get into the comment section. The first is a little bit of fun. I want to have a little bit of fun with y'all. All right. So this picture was taken by John Kahn of the presser, right? These are the players that were there. And a few players showed up a little bit later. Logan Thomas ended up being there. Shaka Toney ended up being there. I think there was one more guy that I'm leaving out that ended up being there when it was all said and done. But I'm not going to tell you the names of these players. If you're a real one, then you know. Those who know, right? I'm going to give it to you like it was given to me when I was, practicing for the LSAT. Which one of these does not belong? Okay. Who doesn't belong in this picture? That's not fair. And I'm not being nice right now. I should behave myself. Which one of these players doesn't belong? I'm going to leave y'all to your devices on that one. And we're going to move on. Okay. So I got this tweet from someone, and on days like today, and really since his hire, I've gotten several, comments similar to this one. They were akin to this. Wasn't quite this, but they were something to this effect. But I think this one is interesting. I'm going to read it to you. I'm going to react to it. So this is from Darnell Kelly on Twitter, at Darnell Kelly 20, who writes, I think Ron is retiring after the season. He's like the 7th person that has said this to me. I just like the way he phrased it and how he packaged it. He said he did what he set out to do being hired under Dan. After the team is sold, he's going to steady the ship, i.e. Fisher, Jeff Fisher, that is. I'm assuming. Then retire. Cancer gives you an outlook on life. His wife is ready for him to be done. Just a theory. So it essentially what Darnell is saying here is Ron came in here with an objective of changing the culture. And he also wanted to win. And if he could restore order here in Washington, they'd build a statue for him. If the next guy that wins a Super Bowl, even though it be one, after what we've gone through, we'll put him right up there with Joe Gibbs. Most fans of this team never saw Joe Gibbs coach. And if they did, they got the 2.0 iteration. They didn't get the 1.0, who was locked in, who wasn't relying on others to call plays, to do this, to help him prepare, who didn't have his head spinning because he had all these different resources at his fingertips that he didn't have the first time, like free agency and trades. So they don't even know what Joe 1.0 looked like and what he brought to the table. They're going to put this next guy, whomever it is that wins us the Super Bowl, they're going to put him on the pedestal. And Ron was like, shit, why not have it be me? But Ron didn't expect to get cancer. He did. I don't think he expected this job to be as hard. It has been. And maybe he saw a guy that reminded him of himself when he was trying to get an opportunity some years ago, when he was a coordinator with the Bears and the Chargers before getting that job in Carolina. And he says, you know what? If I can pay it forward on my way out, bring him here, I step aside after the season, and he steps up to the plate and becomes the head coach, then I'm going to do that. That is a wonderful theory. That is also very flawed. Okay. Very, very, very flawed. There are several reasons why I don't think this is going to happen or even remotely close to happening, but I'll just give you a couple. I don't need to, ramble on and on about this. Number one, Ron isn't in control of anything. Okay. Ron doesn't run anything, especially after the team is sold. Now, if, Dan is here, might be a little bit different. If Ron decided to step aside, or maybe he wanted a role in the front office, or maybe he could convince Dan of that and say, hey, we should hire Eric Bieniemy on a permanent basis. Maybe Dan would be fine with that. Maybe. I don't think so. But Ron doesn't run anything. Not in that capacity. He doesn't have the control to be able to say, you know what? I think I like this GM thing. So I'm going to stick with that. I'm going to move aside. Like, he's not Brad Stevens. Okay. That's not what Ron Rivera is. Okay. He's not a two-time Super Bowl winning coach. He's not Mike Holmgren who goes to the front office. He's not Mike Shanahan who would have an opportunity to do something like that. He's never won a Super Bowl before. So a new owner comes in here and Ron says, hey, I want to step aside. I think you should hire Eric Bieniemy. That new owner is going to say, okay, I appreciate your insight. Thanks for that. And then he's going to go hire whoever he wants to hire. Okay. So Ron, again, it'd be one thing if he were Bill Belichick and everything that organization stands for is because of Ron Rivera. So Ron has the ability to say, hey, this is what I want to do. And ownership's going to listen. Like when Bill Belichick retires, if he wants his son to be the successor, they're going to listen. It may not be him, but they're going to listen. His voice matters in that organization. That's not what Ron has going on here. So I think that's the first thing is Ron doesn't have any say so. He could say, hey, I want to leave this thing to EB. And they're going to say, oh, that's cool. All right. You can get your things and get out. Thank you. We'll take it from here. Number two, Ron's not retiring. Okay. Ron's a lifer. He's a football guy. All these football guys know how to do is coach football. Okay? They've been around football their entire lives. This is what makes them happy. Cancer does give you a different perspective, and it does change the way you view things in life, and mortality sets in, and you start thinking about family, and but guess what? His wife knew what she was signing up for. She knows that this is what makes her husband happy. Ron's not going anywhere. Okay? Ron's coaching football. Ron didn't bring Eric Bieniemy in to take over his job because he wants to leave the organization in great standing and turn it over to Eric Bieniemy. No, Ron's fighting for his job. Okay? I can't stress this enough. Ron is actively fighting for his job. And if you listen to the 13-second clip that I told you guys about, it's 21 minutes in length. Again, his portion is roughly 13 minutes or so. Ron was specifically asked, did you feel the need to do something different outside of your comfort zone? And without hesitation, the minute that question was done, Ron picked up where that reporter left off and said, absolutely. Clearly, the things that I've been doing haven't been getting me the results that I was looking for. I was watching these playoff games, and I said, we need to make a change. I have to pivot. Ron's not pivoting to give it to somebody else. This isn't give and go, Ron isn't going to give it to Eric Bieniemy and then go. He's like, hell no. I'm giving you an opportunity so you can go. It's a great theory, Darnell, and you're not the only one. But I'm just telling you, that ain't what Ron Rivera's thinking. All right. Anyway, I digress. Wanted to throw this out here as well. So this is from Nikki Javala, beat writer that covers this team for the Washington Post. And she was a part of a story that was written, that was released today, along with Mark Maskey and Liz Clark, chronicling Jeff Bezos's affiliation now with this big firm called Allen and Company. So I'm going to read you this tweet from Nikki Javala, and this is essentially diving into what the gist of the story is about. And I read that story, and makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside, because earlier I was screaming, somebody get this man his $7 billion so he can get the hell out of here, please. All right, please and thank you. I'm going to thank you. I'm going to say please, and I'm going to say thank you in advance. Jeff Bezos is the only dude walking around that's interested in this team with that kind of bread. All the other dudes, the NFL has already said, hey, man, you need 30% when you walk in the door. All right. If the team's going to cost you, roughly $6 billion, you're going to need roughly just under $2 billion up front to get the team, right? Some of these dudes are like, man, you're stretching me thin, bro. All I got is 6.3, man. Like, shit, you're hurting my pockets. Jeff Bezos is reportedly worth $114 billion. 7 is a drop in the bucket. Now, one thing about people with money, they're very frugal. That's how they have money. And that's how they keep money. And that's how they keep making more money. So they don't give it away. Okay. Jeff Bezos still wants the best possible deal he can get for this organization, which is probably why he hasn't put in a bid yet. That said, I was getting a little nervous because I'm like, he didn't put in a bid with the first round of offers. Shit was starting to dwindle a bit. And then Dan started puffing out his chest like, if I don't get what I want, I ain't going to sell. I'm like, hey, somebody stop playing and get this man what he asking for. All right. Bezos checking in with Allen and Company. Let's read the tweet. Jeff Bezos is working with Allen and Company, the firm that handled the 2 most recent sales of NFL franchises, including the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. That is all you need to know. You can read the article if you want, but that right there, that piece of information that Nikki Javala just gave you, that's all you really need to know. Is that he is getting all the information that he needs to figure out how he can get this team for the least amount of money as possible. And if it's going to take 6.8, if he can finagle it to where it's not 7, he's going to try and do that. But they're going to do that on his behalf. And he's had experiences with Allen and company before, because that's how he purchased the Washington Post, through Allen and company. When you make these big transactions, these kind of powerhouse companies are usually the broker between the two entities that are doing business. That's what happened with the Walton family, who purchased the Broncos. That's what happened with David Tepper, who purchased the Carolina Panthers. And I'm hoping this is going to happen with Jeff Bezos and this organization. So this was a great day, man. This was everything that you could ask for in one day. As a Commanders fan, you got it today. Great interview or press conference for Eric Bieniemy. Great turnout from a player standpoint. And then you get some news where Bezos is interested. If nothing else, this means Jeff Bezos is interested. If you take nothing else from this, Jeff Bezos is interested. He may not buy, but he's interested. Okay. And we know he loves football, and we know he's interested in buying a team. I think he's going to do it. So just wanted to throw that out there as well. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section. I've said enough. Now I want to hear from you guys. So with that said, let's jump into the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Brandon Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Brandon, writes, what do you think of the Commanders kicking the tires on Taylor Lewan? I posed this to you on IG and Twitter. I knew someone was going to ask about Taylor Lewan, and I'll probably get one about Bobby Wagner as well. I'll just nip both of them in the bud right now. So on Taylor Lewan, and someone asked me on Twitter, and I literally just said, not interested one bit. That was it. Didn't feel like I needed to elaborate, because I knew I was going to get this question tonight and I'd be able to elaborate then. So Taylor Lewan has been injury prone. Okay. Taylor Lewan has been a good player, but he's not great. Okay. Even when he plays, he's not great, but he's good. He's a solid. He's the equivalent of what Morgan Moses was for us. Okay. But except Morgan Moses didn't miss games, and Taylor Lewan does miss games. And he gets ejected from games because he's a hothead, right? So there's a lot there. At the end of the day, the Titans are moving on from Taylor Lewan for various reasons. One, they're paying him a lot of money, and they don't feel like they're getting a return on their investment. Two, he's getting up there in age, and he's injury prone. And three, Taylor Lewan has different interests at this point of his career in life. He's got a booming podcast. I'm pretty sure you've seen it with him and former Washington Redskins linebacker Will Compton, Bussin' with the Boys. I'm pretty sure you've seen it if you haven't. It's a really good concept, and it's a really good show. That shit is bussin'. Literally. Like, they're killing the game. He's already contemplating retirement. He doesn't need football anymore. He's making really good money off the field. And he's made a pretty good amount of money on it. So once again, I reiterate to you, not interested. Okay? We're looking to go younger on the offensive line, not older. We already got our veteran left tackle. His name's Charles Leno Jr. Do you want to go down that road again? Because I don't. I'm good. The next time we go tackle, it's going to be a young guy. And I'd prefer it to be in the draft, personally. So, once again, not interested in Taylor Lewan whatsoever. Okay? Looking to get younger, not older on the offensive line. Okay? Now, specifically on the outsides, at the tackle position. I want some young beef on the outside. Inside, I told you, we could sign a couple of veterans. And when I say veterans, I'm talking 25, 26, 27-year-olds. Taylor Lewan has to be pushing 30. Has to be. He's a 9-year NFL veteran. You come into the NFL at every bit of 22, 23 years old. Now, you start immediately, say you go to college, you're 18 years old. You do 3 years of service, you get out, you're 21. You do 9 years in the league, you do the math, you're 30 years old. I'm not looking for a 30-year-old tackle. I'm good. So, no, I'm not interested. Now, Bobby Wagner, on the other hand, he's still playing at a very high level. I would have no issues with bringing him on board. But here's the thing. Bobby Wagner has been very, very specific on what he's looking for at this point of his career. He wants a title contender. Nowhere, in the Washington Commanders bio does it say Super Bowl title contender. Nowhere will you find it in there. There's a lot of shit you'll find in there. When you go look at their Twitter, bio, IG, there's a lot of shit you'll find in there. It doesn't say Super Bowl title contender. He ain't checking for us. So you can be interested all you want. He's not checking for us. Not at this point of his career. He wants to be one of the pieces that puts a team over the top. Buffalo loses Tremaine Edmonds in free agency. That's the type of place Bobby Wagner would want to go. Hey, let me go to the Bills. They got a chance to win the Super Bowl this year. Anyway, I digress. So that's how I feel about those two. But, that's the thing that this fan base does. Every time somebody gets released, hey, what about us? Thank you for that super chat, Brandon Davis. JB Johnson, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JB, writes, 10-plus games. Ron steps into front office, Bieniemy the head coach. Again, I just read a comment that was very similar. And I told you, I've gotten that type of comment from at least 7 to 8 people already. So that's not foreign. There are a lot of people that are thinking Ron's setting. And look, you may ultimately be proven right. Ron may be setting Eric Bieniemy up to ease right into the head coaching position. But again, I just don't see that transpiring here. One, as I've already mentioned, Ron doesn't have that kind of power. Okay. Ron doesn't have that kind of power. That's one. Two, especially if there's new ownership. Maybe he would have that kind of sway with Dan Snyder. But with new ownership, they don't know Ron Rivera, Adam from Eve. He has no kind of weight nor bearing with the new ownership group. You're just a coach that we're evaluating to see if we want to fire or keep on board for another year or so. And two, Ron isn't, I don't think Ron's looking to step aside. Ron literally was talking about Eric Bieniemy and the role. Ron's like, I just want to, y'all thinking Ron wants to go be a talent evaluator? Ron said, I just want to coach ball. All that other shit, you can keep it. I really would just prefer to coach ball. Trust me, he loves the power that he has, right? Final say so on everything, the autonomy to hire and fire guys as he so pleases. He loves that. What coach wouldn't want that? But understand that with that comes a level of responsibility that, again, Ron didn't really know what he was getting himself into when he took the job. I think he thought he knew, but he had no idea. And again, none of us knew all the shit that was going to come as soon as he took the job. We didn't know the name was about to change. We didn't know that there were going to be all these sexual harassment and work misconduct allegations lobbied against the organization, and he was going to be at the forefront of having to deal with a lot of the comments and things that were going on, and having to protect and shield the players from it. He didn't know he was signing up for all of that. But in any event, at his core, he's a football coach. Coach is coach. And so Ron isn't looking to get into the front office. Ron wants to coach football. So I don't see that. Anyway, I digress. Thank you for that, JB Johnson. Ethan Dykes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Ethan writes, see clip of EB talking to Terry. Terry said he wants a chip. That broke my heart to hear because I want that for him, but I know it likely won't happen here. So part of the allure of bringing in Eric Bieniemy on board, and I talked about this the first video that I did when he was hired. I said, you see that Super Bowl ring, that fat ass rock on his hand? He had that ring on to show people, hey, this is what we playing for. And I've always said that, and Terry literally said this, and I felt it when he said it. There's never been an effort issue in our locker room. That's never been. I've never once, since Ron has gotten here, because before there are times where we could have questioned effort with Jay Gruden as the coach, et cetera, et cetera. Even when the Shanahans were here, when shit was falling apart. There hasn't been one time since Ron has gotten here where I've questioned effort. Never. We could be getting our brains bashed in, and these boys will fight to the bitter end. I can't tell you, and I told you the staggering statistic that was out there, that this team under Ron Rivera had been down by 20 points or more. Okay, 3 scores or more at the half 9 times in 3 seasons. That is ludicrous. Okay? Insanity is what that is. That is nonsensical. I don't know if Bill Belichick has been down 20 points or more at the half 9 times in his entire Patriots career. Anyway, in those 9 games, I would venture to say, and I can't confirm nor deny this, I'd venture to say that in 7 of those games, we scratched and clawed our way back probably to within 1 score. In probably 7 of those 9 games that we were down by 3 scores or more at the half. They never stopped fighting, is the point I'm trying to make. And so if you don't have an effort issue, you just need a guy that can steer you in the right direction, maybe motivate you a little bit more, maybe give you a little bit more attention to detail, maybe put guys in better positions to be successful. And Terry said, we don't have that problem in our locker room. We need a guy to come in here. And you gotta understand that a lot of these players came from Alabama. That's Nick Saban. You're not going to get much tougher coaching than that. You guys came from Ohio State. Urban Meyer is a dick, okay? He told Terry, you go home and you catch about 800 balls and then you come back and see me, man. You can't catch claps in a whorehouse right now. I'm not giving you shit. Go home, catch some balls, come back, and we'll talk. At the end of the day, I think these players are ready for a coach that's going to come in here. And again, Terry said this. The man has 2 Super Bowl rings, recent ones. He's like, nobody in this building outside of Ron and maybe a select few others he's talking about Doug and guys like that. He's like, then he threw this in at the end. And it was no disrespect, but it's facts. He's like, but there's no recent Super Bowls in this building. Ouch. He's got 2 of them. Shit, the one that they just won, the most recent Super Bowl. We need that here. I remember there was a video of our receivers, Gary Clark and, some of those guys, Art Monk. They came back for, one of those alumni weekends. And they sat down with Terry and Curtis and those guys, and they showed them the Super Bowl rings. And you could see in Terry's eyes, like, damn, I want one of these. Now, they shit didn't look like Eric Bieniemy's, right? But Terry, you could see, like, I want that bad. And Eric's like, bro, I know what it takes. This is what is going to move the needle in this locker room. Is a guy that can say, I've been to the mountaintop. I know the way. And if y'all follow me, I can show you. That resonates. All right. It reminds me of Coach Bouye, right? From Waterboy. When he would tell somebody to do something and they would question him, he would just show them the rings and say, hey, get out of here. Go do what I told you to do. That's all Eric Bieniemy has to do. Say, hey, see this fat ass rock right here? That's called being a champion. Not near one of y'all in here knows what that feels like. At this level, I do. So unless you've been there, I got this shit. So I felt Terry's emotion when he hugged him and he said, I'm so glad that you're here. I said this earlier, and I was so sincere when I said it. It was bittersweet for me watching today's festivities because this felt like we just hired a head coach, but we didn't. And everything that we're excited about, I think it's on a 1-year rental basis. And that's when you put it in that perspective, if one of your little prophecies doesn't come to fruition where Ron steps aside, some of you are just blunt like Efron, he gets fired and they promote EB. I don't know if any of that is transpiring. I just know that if things go well for Eric Bieniemy, whether they go well for Ron or not, if things go well for Eric Bieniemy, he'll be a head coach somewhere. And the likelihood is it won't be here. That's the likelihood. It's not often, and it's not impossible. We see it happen from time to time, but it's not often that a guy gets fired and somebody on his staff gets promoted to head coach. It happens. We keep saying it was going to happen in Dallas. Mike McCarthy's going to get fired. They're going to promote Dan Quinn. Hasn't happened yet. And ultimately, I don't know if it will happen because it doesn't happen very often in this league. Generally, the coach gets fired and so does his entire staff, and we're going to go and start over anew. So we'll see. I mean, this will be a unique set of circumstances because ownership change. Bieniemy's been looking for a gig for a long time. He comes from the outside in. It's not like Ron brought him here when Ron came and he's a part of the systematic failure of this team. He just got here. So you can separate him from all the stuff that has happened in the previous 3 years and say, hey, this is what happened in 2023. They were outstanding on offense. Maybe this guy deserves a look. We'll see. But I said all of that to say this. You're probably right. Terry probably won't win a chip here, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. But the likelihood is he probably won't win one here. Man. Anyway, I digress. Christopher McLaughlin. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Chris, writes, hey, Lou. What's up, Chris? Hope all is well with you and the family. Likewise, as always. How much do you think Bieniemy having championship swagger will impact the messaging and help the offense that struggled at times with the basics? Kind of just spoke to that, but I will expound upon that. That championship pedigree can't be undersold. What that means to those players in that locker room who want to win, like Jonathan Allen, and I get it, he's on the opposite side of the football, but those are the guys that talk about being coached hard and, wanting to win at all costs. And you bring a guy in like Eric Bieniemy, and I think it doesn't just resonate on the offensive side. I think it permeates to the defensive side of the football as well. You heard him speak about, hey, we're going to have good days and bad days. There are going to be some days where Jack Del Rio and his defense get the best of us. How do we respond to that? How do we respond? Watching Hard Knocks, and I know a lot of you watched the Hard Knocks with the Detroit Lions. One of the things that, is always fun to see is the banter back and forth between coaches at practice. And we see that from time to time with the clips that they have with the mic'd up and all of that stuff. Chris Harris would be, running around talking trash to the offensive side of the football and this, that, and the third. But you saw it with the Lions in particular, with two really close friends and Deuce Staley on the offensive side talking shit to Aaron Glenn, who's the defensive coordinator. And you get that banter back and forth, right? I think you're going to see some of that from Eric Bieniemy, a little bit of trash talk. He's highly competitive. We've heard that, and he's said it himself. And so I think there'll be a little bit of that banter back and forth. But at the end of the day, I think the swag that he comes with is knowing that in the last 4 years, the man's been to 3 Super Bowls and won 2 of them, and been a part of a unit that has been able to win 2 Super Bowls in 4 years and go to 3 of the last 4 Super Bowls. They've hosted the AFC Championship game 5 years in a row. They've had one of the best offenses, if not the top offense in the NFL, 5 years in a row, minus Tyreek Hill last season. Go on, keep the party going. He wasn't just a passenger along for the ride, as we've found out throughout this process, despite what guys like Shady McCoy want you to believe. He wasn't just a passenger. He had input. He carried his weight. So I think that ultimately we're going to find out what he brings to the table. But immediately, before we even have one day of OTAs, he immediately steps into the building and brings credibility because he's a Super Bowl champion coach. 2-time Super Bowl champion coach. So I think that stands for something. And as far as the basics are concerned, he's a stickler for detail. Detail. One of my favorite quotes from him during the day, because he said it with Julie Donaldson again after saying it, and I told you that the messaging was consistent throughout. He said, we're going to put consistent behavior on film. We're going to put consistent behavior on film. That means you're not going to see a lot of mistakes. You're not going to see a lot of the, and it's crazy saying that the Chiefs lined up wrong in the Super Bowl, and it turned out to be for the best. Mahomes improvised and they scored a touchdown. But to his, point, we want to be a good football team and we want to do the little things correct. And I'm a big stickler for the little things, which is why this organization drives me nuts, because we don't do the big things well. And if you can't do the big things well, like get somebody's name right, how the hell are you going to get the little things right? Okay. How are you going to get the small, minute details correct when you can't even get the big shit right that anybody could do? So he's going to come in and he's going to help with the attention to detail. And I think that is massive, because That's been something that has been lacking in Washington for a very long time. I mean, this hasn't been just a Ron Rivera problem. This is an organizational fail, okay, that starts at the very top and it trickles its way down onto the field, okay? So, yeah. I think he's going to help in a number of different areas. Washington football fan WGIL, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, a wise man once told me, comfort is the enemy of progress. Yes, that was the absolute favorite quote of the entire day. Somebody in the comment section said that quote can be attributed to P.T. Barnum, the famous circus ringleader. I don't know if he's the person we should be crediting that quote to. Sounds good to me. That's a ton of wisdom. I'm just going to go with the old adage that I always tell you. A wise man once told me, comfort is the enemy of progress. I already told you, I've already stuck that one in the tool belt. Okay. That's going to be reused and reused over and over and over again. Okay. Don't you worry. You're going to hear that from me on several occasions because that's some good shit there. Okay, that was a nice gem that was dropped on my melon today. So, I love it. And I'm telling you right now, don't get comfortable. Don't get comfortable with Eric Bieniemy because he's not staying long. Okay. He said, when he's talking to Julie, he said it's been a whirlwind. And I had to go back to Kansas City and I had to pack up an office that had 10 years worth of stuff in it. My advice to EB, don't bother unpacking here in Washington. You're not staying very long. I give it 1 year max. You're one and done, man. You come in, do what you need to do, and somebody will give you a job. This is it. This is it. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Door Gunner, writes, first of all, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Door Gunner, writes, Lou, if we get a new owner, you better be at opening day with the MOBB. We are going to turn up for show. I know the stadium sucks, but do it for the mob. I can't make you any promises, okay? As a wise man or men once told me, I'll never make a promise that I can't keep. That ain't me. Okay. So I'd love to tell you that I'd be there. Now, I'll tell you this. When they open that new sucker up, I'm there opening day. You know, even if that's a damn preseason game, I'm there. That first time that bitch opens, I'll be in the building. But I can't guarantee you that the sale of the team is going to bring me back out to a game. But I'll say it's a lot more likely that I'll attend a game with new ownership. I can assure you of that, but can't make you any promises. All right. But I hear you. Your plea is not falling on deaf ears. Okay. Understand that. Thank you for the super chat, Door Gunner. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Red Wing 01, who writes, in other news, Justin Fields complaining about Chicago weather and wanting a dome. Might be out of there. Rodgers has emerged from the darkness. That's more of a podcast conversation. I did see Justin Fields talking about, wanting a dome and advocating for that. I don't think he understands the tradition of Chicago and Soldier Field. I don't know if the Bears are looking to put a top on Soldier Field. But Soldier Field is an iconic, venue. Much like Lambeau, they're not tearing Lambeau Field down because it's cold as shit to build a dome. It's Lambeau Field. It's part of the mystique and the aura. You come to Green Bay, you know, as you get into November, into December, and if you're playing, bonus football into January and February, it's cold as shit. Brace yourself. All right. Same can be said for Justin Fields, bro. I know you didn't sign up for this. You didn't pick Chicago. Chicago picked you. Man up. You played at Ohio State. Last time I checked, pretty goddamn cold there too. Figure this shit out because they're not building the dome in Chicago. All right. Anyway, I digress. And Aaron Rodgers has emerged from darkness, everybody. Darkness. He's playing football. I've already said this. I'll be shocked if he says, I came away from my retreat realizing I don't love it anymore. I'm done. Didn't see that coming. He's playing football. The question is where. Not if, but where. Only time will tell. Video channel. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Video channel. Writes, EB got that melon-sized head. He better be dropping gems on gems all season. And Lou, we getting the breakdown of KC's O and how it can work in DC. That if we do something like that, it'll be more towards like May and June when there's absolutely nothing going on. And I got time on my hands, then you'll get something like that. But in the timing of everything with the draft and combines right around the corner and all the shit that's going on, ain't no way that's happening now. But yeah, we get into May and June and hell, even early portion of July when there's nothing going on and I got some time on my hands. Yeah, I can see, me maybe firing up some shit that might be really entertaining, to take a look at some things that we can look forward to here in Washington. See anything wrong with that? Wilfredo Elias, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Wilfredo writes, keep your friends close and your Bieniemy closer. Good one. Good one. I like it. I like it a lot. It'd be nice to keep him closer. Closer than close. Yeah. Be nice to keep him closer than close for more than just 1 year, but it is what it is. But I digress. Thank you for that one, Wilfredo. Colton Wheeler. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Colton Wheeler, writes, as of right now, who would you want in the draft? And if now, who? If not now, or if not who, then what position groups? Getting rid of Dan is a winning offseason for me. I think that's priority number one for every fan, or at least it should be. If that's not priority number one for you, then you have your priorities out of whack. Okay, they're not in order. So that goes without saying. Priority one, and that's priority one, and then you probably have to take a gajillion steps to get to what priority number two is. In the grand scheme of things, I don't give a shit who the head coach is, offensive coordinator is, quarterback is, none of that shit. I don't give a damn about the offensive line. None of that shit matters when we're talking about the organization and who runs it. So that clearly is out in front of everything. But moving that aside and just talking ball and talking about the roster, the draft, I don't know who I want right now. There are several positions, and I've already gone through this with you guys. Let's see if I have it, in front of me. But I've already gone through this with you guys. Let's see if I have it right here. No, I don't. But I've already explained to you the positional breakdown when we did so if you want to go back to the video, The video is the mock off season, the finale of that. We did it live, and I pretty much gave you a positional breakdown of what I would be looking for in each round. And I gave you an explanation as to why, essentially. So what I'm looking for, and I can remember this off the top of my dome. In the first round, I said that there were 4 positions that I would be open to selecting. 4 alone. Cornerback, offensive line, running back, and I was only looking for one in particular. I know the Bijan Robinson out of Texas is dynamic. We don't need him. I'd be more interested in Zamir Gibbs out of Alabama, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. But if they did it, I wouldn't be upset about it. Okay, he'd be the only one, because to me, he's a faster version of Alvin Kamara, and we already know what he is in the league. And then I said an edge rusher. And there's only 1 or 2 guys that I'd be interested in. If Miles Murphy out of Clemson is around at 16, I'd be very interested in doing that, because I don't think you're going to be able to sign both, Montez Sweat and Chase Young back. You're going to have to probably pick one of the two. And no time like the present to start grooming their replacement. So I wouldn't be opposed to that. So those were the positions that I would be interested in the first round. I gave you a couple of players. I think corner, there's going to be a ton of dudes, Witherspoon and Porter Jr. and Gonzalez. It's going to be a lot of guys that you're going to look at and say, I'll take any of those guys at 16 if they're available. These long, rangy, athletic corners that you can pair with Benjamin St. Juste on the outside, that gets you excited. So, thank you for that, Colton Wheeler. Jalen Dorsett, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jalen writes, we get O-line, tight end, and linebacker like Bobby Wag playoffs. I wouldn't mind Bobby Wagner, even at his age, still playing at a damn high level. I mean, I'd take him in a heartbeat, but that's not a mutual thing. He's not looking nor checking for us. He's made it abundantly clear he's looking to win a chip. I don't think anybody feels like Bobby Wagner is the missing piece for a chip. And I know he doesn't view Washington in that light, nor should he. So can't see him ending up here. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, when the sale happens, we having a party in the Cherry Squad, Lou. I'm sure you'll stream, but it would be dope if you came through. Salutes. Oh, we sell the team. I go on record right now as saying I will show up in the Cherry Squad and kick it with y'all. Dan sells the squad. I'm in there. I'm in like Flynn. All right. Straight up. I did ask y'all who didn't belong. I think we're at that point of the comment section, so I want to see what you guys had to say. I think it starts right about here. John Bates was there. Thank you, Jay. Jay says John Bates was there. He was. It was John Bates, Logan Thomas, and the Penn State edge rusher. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name right now. I can see his face in my head. I said his name earlier. They were all there as well. They weren't pictured, though. Metaphor says Cam Curl in there. Miss Perry says Cam Curl. Meest says Sadiq. Rich says Cam Curl. Jay says Sadiq. Red Wing says Sadiq, I guess. Rich says better not say Sadiq. Robert says Terry. Justin says Sam looking like a hobo. Wilfredo says Terry, Charles, Howell, J. Dot, Cam Curl, Antonio Gibson, B. Rob. Charles not going to be on this team next year. Laughing my ass off. Bullet says Sadiq. Red Wing says, nah, Sadiq's cool. So we go back to that picture then. And I said, who doesn't belong? The easy answer, the low-hanging fruit is Cam Curl, right? He's a defensive dude. What is he doing here? I'm not talking about him. He's a part of the nucleus of this football team. He's young talent that isn't going anywhere, okay? He belongs here. If you want to show up, even though it's an offensive guy, I got no problems with that. You're a part of this young nucleus of what we're trying to build here. The guy that doesn't belong is Sadiq Charles. Hey, that's cool. And I know they're giving out, Washington football team hoodies. But if you're going to show up, at least show up. If you're not going to wear your own shit, you're going to wear some team apparel. And I know a lot of dudes do this. Jack would show up on a weekly basis with some Washington football team shit. Nobody gives a damn, right? They give you some shit, you throw it on. At least wear the Commanders shit, bro. Like, come on now. But anyway, I digress. Sadiq, he doesn't belong. Okay, he's not going to be on this team. And we'll have. I was so disappointed in Sadiq this year because he got some opportunities, and I didn't think he made the most of those opportunities. When they benched Trey Turner early in the year, Sadiq was supposed to say, "You ain't getting this shit back." And the minute that Trey Turner was ready to go, they snatched Sadiq ass out so damn quick to make your eyes spin. You about to get knocked out like Mike Tyson. He's not it. But I'm glad he's continuing to be at the facility. He's still working. I think this offseason, though, they're going to go out, bring in a bunch of interior offensive linemen via free agency in the draft. And when it's all said and done, he'll be the odd man out. Anyway, I digress. All right. Let's get back to the comment section. Mr. Ron B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Ron B writes, I was extremely encouraged by what I heard from EB. His personality is going to have a positive impact on our offense, especially the team as a whole. We may finally have a direction on offense. Yes, Mr. Ron B, OG, triple OG. That is the thing that we've been clamoring for since the Shanahans got here. And we did have an identity then. We ran the football because that's what the Shanahans do. But since then, I don't know if we've had a true identity on offense. You could argue that Jay Gruden and our ability to throw the football was pretty dynamic when Jay was here, especially when he had Kirk and Pierre and Deshaun and Jameson and, Jordan Reed and Vernon Davis and company. We were pretty damn dynamic throwing the football. And that was our identity because we couldn't run it. But since probably 2016, we really haven't had a true identity on offense. So this is refreshing. And honestly, I don't know if we'll actually have an identity like this is who we are, deal with it. But I think our ability, and one of the clips I played you, Eric Bieniemy said, we're going to be able to adapt, right? We're going to be able to adjust and use the parts that we have, and we'll do whatever it takes to win. That's what I want that to be our identity. On any given week, you can get whatever it is we have to give to get the dub. That's what I want our identity to be. So I think he is going to have a positive impact on this offense. And by virtue of having a positive impact on the offense, he could indirectly have a tremendous effect on the defense. Because we're scoring points and we're getting on top of teams, which we're not accustomed to doing. And now these edge rushers and these pass rushers get a chance to pin their ears back and get after the quarterback. We could see a spike in some of these numbers for some of these guys. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you for that, Mr. Ron B. Got a super chat here. This next one is from Joe Rockhead J. Or excuse me, Joe Rockhead. Knew I was going to do that. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Joe Rockhead, writes, EB's press conference did not sound like a guy who interviews poorly. Either he has learned or someone is lying. So something that was brought to my attention that I didn't even really consider, I didn't even think about, was the fact that he's a minority candidate. And in being a minority, it subjects you and it opens you up to the Rooney Rule. And while the Rooney Rule was instituted to help benefit minority candidates who weren't getting opportunities to even get in the room, and it forced teams to have to interview minority candidates, it started out working wonders. We saw an uptick in minority coaches in the league, and it had gotten as high as like a third of the league were minority coaches in like 2005 when the Rooney Rule was first instituted, right around there, somewhere in that neighborhood, or 2008 or something like that. I think the Rooney Rule was like 2005, and by 2008 there were like, 11 or 12 minority coaches in the league. Since that number has dwindled dramatically and teams are abusing the Rooney Rule, it's more of a hindrance, a roadblock that teams are just trying to, clear so they can go hire the guy that they truly intend to hire. I made this comment yesterday or the day before, earlier today, about, the lawsuit that Brian Flores had against the league. And part of his argument was that he was a part of a bunch of sham interviews where he knew he wasn't getting the job. They knew they weren't going to hire him, but they were just looking to fulfill the Rooney Rule. And I didn't even think about the Rooney Rule when I was thinking about EB. And how many of those interviews are just, hey, we need to satisfy the Rooney Rule. Let's just bring in Eric Bieniemy to do that. I can't tell you, but he could have not interviewed well initially. The first 3 or 4 interviews, he might have sucked at it. And then he got his shit together. And the more you do something, as I've mentioned before, the more you do something, the better you get at it. And, I know people who are borderline geniuses, they don't test well. They get into that environment where they have to take a test and they fall the hell apart. And you ask this person how to do this, that, and the third, and they tell you right there on the spot. You're like, give me pen and paper, and I might be able to map it out for you. They can do that shit off the top of the dome. You put a test in front of them, they start shitting bricks. There are people that have anxiety when it comes to taking tests. I'm not saying that's Eric Bieniemy. He doesn't sound like a guy that has any anxiety about being in a room with somebody and trying to convey to them what his, vision for a program would be. Doesn't sound like a guy that would have any issues with that, but I don't know. And I'm not here to play the game of, what percentage of these Rooney Rule interviews. And, somebody had a comment, and it was a really good comment, actually. And I thought about reading it on the show, but they said, that they didn't think it had anything to do with race, which I'm not looking to get into in a deep conversation about. I've done that enough, on my podcast. I do it all the time. And so I'm not looking to really have that conversation because everybody knows that Eric Bieniemy has been shafted by the league, and you can call it whatever you want. If you choose to ignore the facts, knock yourself out. Like somebody was like, 4 of the interviews that he went on, those teams hired black coaches after he interviewed. And I'm like, that has absolutely zero to do with the conversation that we're having surrounding Eric Bieniemy. Because they hired a minority candidate or they hired a black coach after interviewing Eric Bieniemy doesn't make the situation any less. The conversation is white coaches, his counterparts, his white counterparts, who were in similar situations, including Matt Nagy, including Doug Peterson, okay, all coaches under Andy Reid, who did not call a single play, got jobs in this league sight unseen. Okay? Matt LaFleur got a job sight unseen. Zach Taylor got a job sight unseen, had not called a single play in this league. Again, they might have interviewed off the charts. Again, I don't know. I'm just telling you that this notion that he's got to go somewhere else to prove that he can actually call plays is bullshit, because other coaches in this league who are white haven't had to do that. Not as often. Okay? That's the point I'm making. You can tell me that, those teams, 4 of those teams hired black coaches. That's cool. But that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. So that's the only point that I'm trying to make. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's lying. And I think Bieniemy has handled it beautifully. And his outlook on it is, hey, when that opportunity presents itself, I'll be ready. But I'm where my feet are. All right. And right now, I'm the offensive coordinator of the Washington Commanders, assistant head coach. I'm looking forward to this challenge and this opportunity. I'm not comfortable here. Comfort is the enemy of progress. So I'm uncomfortable. So I'm going to do my thing. And when that opportunity presents itself, I'll be ready and I'll take advantage of it. That's the right mentality to have. Not woe is me. Not, oh man, I'm getting a raw deal. F all of that. I'll let y'all make those, statements for me. I'll let y'all do that on my behalf. I'm going to just go out here and keep coaching my ass off and put myself in the best position to win and get this head coaching gig. And that's what he's doing. So I love his approach to it. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP, writes, what's going on, Lou? What's going on, JP? Got here a little late because of work. Hey, I always tell you, get that bread, man, while it's there to be got. It's hot in the oven, man. Go ahead and get it while it's baking. Says, I want to see us spend money in free agency this year on a couple of big ticket items. I think we may spend on 1, maybe 2, but I think this will be the year where they spend a little bit of bread. I do expect them to go out and sign a guy or 2. May not be what you're looking for in particular, but I think they're going to spend on something, So we'll see. There's money to be spent. We'll see. Dejon Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Dejon writes, in honor of Dan selling the team, you might as well slide to a home game this year, Louie T. That was brought up to me by Door Gunner earlier in the show. And like I said, I will not shoot that notion down, okay? But I will not guarantee that I'll be at a game. Earlier I said a wise man told me, never make a promise that I can't keep. That ain't me. So I'm not going to tell you, yeah, he sell the team, I'm definitely coming out. But I will tell you this, and I've already said this, God spare life. We get a new stadium, I'm in that bitch the first time that shit's open. I don't care if it's a preseason game. I'm in that bitch. All right. And I'm probably there for the season opener, the first time we bust that bad boy open for a real game. But that's down the road. I mean, FedEx is under lease until 2027. So we haven't even broken ground on where a new stadium is going to be because we don't even know where that shit's going to be. So, yeah. Anyway, I digress. John Livingston, my guy, JL Smooth. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, what up, Lou? What's going on, JL? My guy says, hope all is well. Likewise. In my opinion, the NFL is a copycat league. You see the Belichick coaching tree have little to no success. I'm thinking teams think the same, that EB is just a product of Reed. I mean, and that's fine. But that doesn't stop teams from going out and giving guys an opportunity. How many Belichick guys have failed? How many Belichick guys continue to get opportunities? Right? Like that every year for it's what it seemed like 10 years. You know, every 2 or 3 years, a Belichick guy was getting a job. You know, whether it was Charlie Weiss or Romeo Crennel or Bill O'Brien or Brian Flores or Matt Patricia or Josh McDaniels twice. That's what happened in New England. They just kept getting opportunities and they kept failing. Nobody seemed to care. Just kept giving them opportunities. Joe Judge, like that shit ain't never stopped the Patriots, staff from getting opportunities. So Andy Reid's guys, they don't always succeed. Matt Nagy had success in his first year and then stunk the rest of his tenure and got fired. That didn't stop people from going back to the Andy Reid tree. So I don't subscribe to that. I don't subscribe to that at all. I do think there is a such thing as oversaturation where you go back to that well one too many times. Like, there was this, point in time where Ron's, defensive staff was just getting poached. There was a stretch there where, Sean McDermott got the job in Buffalo, and then the next year, your boy got the job in Arizona. I don't know why his name is escaping me right now. And then he stunk it up, and that's when everybody's like, all right, we got to stop going to Carolina for these defensive dudes. But San Francisco's doing that right now. Robert Saleh got a job. We still don't know if he's any good, even though the Jets were a lot better this year. We still don't know if he's a good head coach or not. They went right back to that well again and got DeMeco Ryans, though. Like, we'll see, man. I guess we'll just leave it at that. We'll see. Reed's got a much, bigger tree around the league, but I think Eric Bieniemy is past due for an opportunity, but we'll see what he does in Washington. That's the most important thing. Is all right. This is what you put on me. You said that you needed to see me do it from under Andy Reid. All right, do it on my own. Now he's got to show everybody. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we need to put an APB for luck. Where you at? I don't know. I saw him not earlier today, but on the last stream, he was around. So it's not like we ain't seen Luck in 2 weeks or some shit like that. He's around. And in my mind, even when you ain't seen him, his ass is still around. So anyway, I digress. Big Slim, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Slim writes, just bought season tickets coming from Mass, EB and Howell season. I'm excited about the combination. I'm excited about Sam Howell. Even if it wasn't Eric Bieniemy, I'd still be excited about Sam Howell. Still got to prove it, but I like the tools, and I've had a lot of people go back and watch my Draft Prospects 101 breakdown of Sam Howell that I did last year when he was going into the draft. And A lot of the things I said then ring true now, and I felt good about him then. I thought I had a second round grade on him. He goes in the 5th round. A lot of people were down on him. I thought he was the wild card of that draft. I didn't think we'd get our hands on him because I didn't think we would be spending, a second round pick on a quarterback after we traded for Carson Wentz. So I didn't think we'd get our hands on him personally. Thought he'd be long gone by the time we would be considering taking a quarterback, and he was still sitting there in the 5th round, and it worked out. And we all said at the time when he was drafted, this is a Carson Wentz insurance policy. If his ass stinks, Sam Howell is our insurance that allows us to not have to be desperate in the 2023 NFL draft at the quarterback position. We could say, hey, we good. Everybody else can fight over what y'all going to do. We don't have to. That's what drafting Sam Howell allowed us to do. Because somebody's going to give up King's ransom for Justin Fields or for the Bears' #1 overall pick, unless that shit Fields is talking gets to a point where they're like, all right, man, he got to go. And I don't see that happening. Anyway, but you never know. You never know. I really like Sam Howell a lot. And I think the future's bright. And the beauty of it is he's being married with a guy that understands his skill set. I played you the clip of him talking about him being able to throw from multiple platforms, him being a dual threat and a rush option down in the red zone. He throws a beautiful deep ball. These are all things that I highlighted last year when I broke him down. And if you haven't checked, you haven't watched that, and go check it out. It's in the archives. But I think that they could make a beautiful marriage, the two of them. Again, bittersweet because it could only be for 1 year. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, EB was a firm gentleman in his presser today. What I saw was him putting his elephant nuts on the table and making people take notice. He was just being himself. He was just being himself, And if that comes off as abrasive to some, so be it. But I've always been this way, and I think he's probably someone that is similar in I'll never apologize for doing whatever is necessary to win. And I'm not a cheater, okay? So anything within the rules, even if that requires bending them, sort of bending, but not actually stepping over that line that constitutes cheating, I'm all about it, man. I'm trying to do whatever it takes to win because winning is all I know. I let the losers worry about losing. I don't even know what that is. I'm just all about trying to get a dub. So when you're in that state of mind, you're just trying to get it done. And that's what I heard from him today was, I'm going to do everything in my power to put us in a position to win. And how I go about that is by building relationships with guys, which will allow me to coach them the way that I want to coach. And it's paying attention to details, having consistent behavior on tape, doing the little things correctly so that when those moments arise in games, and I remember Patrick Mahomes saying that this is what Eric Bieniemy prepped them for, that he would go over the same moments, 3rd and 7, this situation, a lot of these situations that we don't get right. We've talked about situational awareness with this team and how it's been lousy since Ron's gotten here, but it's been lousy for a very long time. This predates Ron Rivera. We've been an organization that has lacked situational awareness consistently. And Mahomes talked about the attention to detail and pounding it into their heads. This is what we have to do because when that moment arises, it won't be too big and you won't be unprepared. We play a lot of close games. Terry said, we play a lot of close games. And Terry said, and this is a phrase that Bieniemy used a lot, straining. You got to strain for that extra block, that extra yard. You got to strain for your teammate. Because it's that extra effort, that strain, that's the difference between losing by 2 on a walk-off field goal or going home happy as a winner. So, I think Bieniemy he sent a message. Like, this is who I am, this is what I stand for, and y'all got to fall in line. And it's a message well received. Well received. Ty, the guy. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Ty, the guy, writes, Commanders Hard Knocks sounds like good TV for the NFL. New owners, new QB, new OC. We're about due, man. We're due. We're long overdue for Hard Knocks. We've been running from it for a long time. Ron's already done Hard Knocks before, or he didn't do Hard Knocks. He did the Amazon Prime version. I forgot what it's called. But he did it in season before the NFL started doing in-season Hard Knocks. There was an in-season one on Amazon Prime, and he did it with the Carolina Panthers. So Ron isn't adverse to doing it. He's done it before. It is a distraction, but they're from what I've heard, they're minimally invasive. Like, they're there, but you don't really know they're there. You're aware because you know that they're recording, but they're not all in your face, and they're a distraction. They're as out of the way as they can be. So I could see that being the case, especially if you get new ownership, new offensive coordinator, new quarterback. I could see there being intrigue surrounding Washington. But could you imagine if Aaron Rodgers goes to Vegas? I think that's more intriguing than here, right? So, just keep that in mind. The storylines of the offseason will determine where Hard Knocks is heading. The Vegas Raiders trade for Aaron Rodgers, and I think I'm sending the camera crew to Vegas. I don't know about you. That's what I'm doing. We'll see, Deshaun Bell, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Mike Mayer is a 2 birds with 1 stone type of pick. 100. I love him. You won't get me to say a bad word about him. I think he is the closest thing we've seen to Gronk since Gronk's retired. And, we've had all these guys. Pat Fryermuth last year. Oh, he looks like Gronk. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't. Michael Mayer looks like Rob Gronkowski. Okay. So, there's actually 2 dudes in this draft. Darnell Washington, he's a different dude too, but he's a lot more raw. He's not Michael Mayer from a pass catching standpoint, but boy, is he big. You can't teach the size, man. Either you have it or you don't. I love Michael Mayer. But again, if we took him, I wouldn't be mad, but we got stuff at tight end. That's not a position that you should be drafting at 16 if you're Washington. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Fat American, writes, Hey, Louie T. What's up, Fat American? Late to the show, but can you recap your feelings about the EB press conference for me, please? And did you see him and Terry talk? Man. So I had, roughly about 5, takeaways or so. One was he made it abundantly clear that he was going to adjust and adapt to the talent on this roster, which is music to my ears. 2, he said, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win. That if that's running the football, if that's throwing the football a bunch, whatever we got to do, on a week-to-week basis. That's what we're going to do to find a way to win. The statistics that won't always be pretty, but it doesn't matter. I just want to win. That's, again, music to my ears. That's what I want to hear. Another thing that, stood out to me is he talked about coming here and what his track record was preceding him and how he's not worried about a head coaching job. He's going to be where his feet are. However, I'm not a robot. He's not a robot. I am thinking about my future. And so I'll address that in the offseason. What that spoke to me and said is, hey, I'm here. And people keep saying, well, he signed a multi-year deal. What does that mean? Because you signed a multi-year contract, you can't leave after 1 year for a head coach job? Yeah, right. He's gone after 1 year. And if the new ownership group comes in and they want to fire everyone, I don't care that you just signed a 3 or 4 year deal. You're fired. What is there to talk about? So this whole notion that, well, he signed a multi-year deal. Okay, and what does that mean? You know who signed a multi-year deal? Lovie Smith. You know how many years he coached in Houston last year? 1. You know who signed a multi-year deal? The guy that Lovie Smith replaced, David Culley. You know how many years he coached? 1. Who gives a shit that he signed a multi-year deal? Nobody ever cares about that stuff, right? So, again, I think he's going to be gone after 1 year, personally. I thought he was energetic. He was everything that we were told he was before he got here. Hyper competitive, energetic, no nonsense. He dropped some gems on our melon. We got a sermon today. It was refreshing. Talked about chopping wood, right? Every day we're going to try to get better. We're going to chop wood. He talked about comfort being the enemy of progress. He talked about so many different things. And he acknowledged the guys that were at the press conference. Talked about the talent that was on this team. And the guys he looks forward to working with. He talked about the relationships in the building that he had prior to coming here with Ron and Martin Mayhew and Eric Stokes, so forth and so forth. He talked about this being the right opportunity for him at this point of his career and looking to make the most out of it. So I'm excited. And from what I gathered, the fan base is pretty juiced and jacked up about it as well. So, and I did see him talking to Terry. And it's everything that I expected. Terry wants to win as badly as anybody on the offensive side of the football. I think Jonathan Allen's another guy that just wants to win. And when you come from programs like those guys came from, Ohio State and Alabama, combined in their careers, they might have lost 6 games combined in their collegiate careers. When you come from that to this, shit's tough. Okay? Those guys want to win. So Terry is dapping up a Super Bowl. That dude a week ago was at a parade. He was holding the Lombardi. That's what Terry wants. So yeah, that whole interaction was fun to see. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, bro, EB has only been here like 5 minutes and I already feel sad like my dad just visited after 10 years, but I know he's leaving after a day. I talked about that earlier today. And I don't want to be, raining on anybody's parade because as I mentioned earlier, it could all be for naught. That's why I didn't want to, spend time talking about it tonight. I did that earlier today, right? So I don't want to keep beating that horse. It's dead. But I said what I needed to say. Like, all of that could be for naught. He could be here next year, as a coordinator, as a head coach. He could be here next year. And all that stuff that I was saying earlier could be for naught. But the likelihood is, if he's good, he's going to get a job. And if he's good and we win, Ron's not getting fired. So he's not here. If he's good and we're not good, Ron's getting fired, and likelihood is he's not going to be promoted and he'll be getting a job elsewhere. So in my mind, I've already said there's a high probability that no matter what happens, if he's good, he's gone. If he's not good, Ron's fired anyway. And if he wasn't good, why would you promote him to head coach? So in my mind, I'm saying there's really no way I see him here after next year. The only way that happens is if somehow we win 10, 11 games, we make it to the playoffs, we win a playoff game, and he still doesn't get a job, which would be incredible, especially if this offense, which you would think if that happens, we were scoring points and he made this offense much better. It'd be amazing. At that point, then you think the fix is in. They blackballed him or something like that, which I don't think is the case. So I feel like any improvement by Washington's offense, which it's not hard to do. We were 28th in the league in points per game. We were sub 20 points per game. Shouldn't be hard to come in here and have us scoring 23 points a game. You do that, you'll put yourself right in the middle of the pack and we'll have a chance to win football games. He does that, I don't see how he ends up here again next year. But we'll see. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Buddy Sonny writes, someone farted in your dinner tonight, Lou? I mean, what are you talking about, Sonny? What are you talking about, man? What are you talking about? Anyway, I digress. Fat American, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Fat American. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. I think actually this is the triple up for you. Anyway. Greg was interviewed by the Junkies, and EB couldn't stop talking about those defenses. Man ain't seen. He said, "Man, see, I ain't the only one. Our D hasn't been the same." So if you are looking for the last time Washington had an elite unit, you have to go back to the Greg Williams days. That's no secret. I mean, this is the thing, Fat American. No one's telling you that the 2005 teams, 2005 and 07 teams, but 05 for you in particular. No one's telling you that it wasn't a good defense or you I think you keep talking about team. They were okay on offense, but by the time we got to the end of that season, they were abysmal on offense. But the defense was legit. And we haven't been that good defensively since. It's no secret. Nobody's debating you on that, but we didn't win anything with that team in 05. That's the problem. If that was a Super Bowl team, I would indulge in these conversations with you every single time. But we got to the divisional round and we lost. So, I mean, there's only so much I can say to you, right? Kareem G, Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Kareem writes, Lou, you're being annoying. Stop raining on the parade and enjoy a blessing that God finally decided to bless us with. Hey, look, I'm not looking to do that, man. I'm not looking to rain on anybody's parade. I told you, I'm not looking to stop anybody from dreaming. I'm just telling you where my head is at. All right. If I come off as being annoying, I apologize. Look, we haven't won anything. And as I've said already, you don't win games in February for too long. That's been something that we've done here and watched, especially when Daniel Snyder first got here, is celebrate victories this time of the year in March and in April. You don't win games in February with a press conference. So I have to reiterate that. While today was a fun day and the future seems bright, I'm just here to tell you that the future could be bright for a year. That's all. That's all I'm saying. All right. Take it for what it's worth. Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Oh, man. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes. Also, I knew Doc and B. Mitch would love EB's presser. Yeah. And again, he played in their era, specifically B. Mitch. Doc was a little bit earlier, but he comes from that same mentality, same way of thinking. And you knew they were going to love it. I think he and B. Mitch came into the league right around the same time. I want to say B. Mitch might have preceded him by a year, or it might have been the exact same year. B. Mitch, I think, was 1990 draft, 91 draft. I think B. Mitch was the 90 draft, excuse me. Bieniemy, I think, was the 91 draft. So, yeah. They have a similar mentality. So you would expect them to be really high on him. And that's natural. When you're like-minded, you're going to see things the same way. When I told you, the way you see the world and the way you view things is usually based off of your experiences. If you've experienced similar things, you're probably going to see things quite similar. Not always is that the case, but usually that's the case. Okay. They played in the same era. They see football in that same light. So they're going to probably be, really excited about what he's saying because his message resonates to them because they see football through the same prism that he does. Door Gunner, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Door Gunner. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Door Gunner, who writes, I drag my carcass up from Florida to games and have season tickets, and you can't drag yourself to one game for the mob, Lou. Tragic. LOL. Hashtag BNG until I die. You will not shame me into coming to a game. Okay. A wise man once told me, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Okay. I'm not coming to a game just because. And while I want to chop it up with y'all, there will be times for us to chop it up. Okay. I told you I'm working on some events where I get out of the house and I congregate with my people. Okay. So trust me, by hook or by crook, we're gonna get it on and pop it. We're gonna find a way to link. So you don't have to worry about that. It more likely than not will not be at a game. So keep that in mind. But I get it. I don't ever tell anybody how to be a fan. Whether you're coming from Florida, like our guy Ab, he's coming from Mexico to these games, coming from the left coast, from Cali, and you're hitting up a game. To each its own. I live right up the street. I could definitely go to the game. I get more enjoyment in giving away tickets to people who haven't been to games before, or who have been to a game, but they want to take their kid, or they just want to go to the game and they don't have any tickets. I get more enjoyment out of that than me actually showing up at the game. In any event, it's not because I don't want to chop it up with y'all. It has nothing to do with, as a matter of fact, if we were good, shit was jumping and it was live, and I didn't have disdain for ownership, probably would have already been at some games and some events with y'all and kicked it with y'all a number of times. But I've already drawn a line in the sand. So at the end of the day, even when Dan sells, I've done the FedEx Field experience enough where I'm like, I'm good. Don't really need to do that again. Get a new stadium and I'm there. Now, again, we start winning some shit. Big game coming up. I might change my tune. I might be like, you know what? See y'all at, section whatever. Come out at the kid. But again, you're going to have to entice me to come out. I ain't coming out to watch 17 to 15. I'm not coming out on a 4-game heater and you're beating Little Sisters of the Poor and you're barely eking by. Because I know that's fool's gold. We've seen it under Ron Rivera. Twice in 3 seasons. So, anyway, call me what you want. Amar, 2 times official. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Amar writes, no matter what we do this free agency plus draft, this may be our biggest acquisition of the offseason. Similar to what you said about Dallas with Dan Quinn. It has a chance to be. But the difference with Dallas and Dan Quinn was they already had talent on defense. They just had terrible coaching. We still got a lot of shit. Because if you don't fix the offensive line, I don't give a damn how good he is as a coordinator. There's only so much you can do when your offensive line isn't getting the job done. So, and also you need a quarterback. But to your point, and I remember being very adamant about, and Dallas didn't really do a lot that offseason, but I remember being very adamant about Dan Quinn being added to that staff, and I knew what they were going to get from him. And I said, there's no bigger acquisition than Dan Quinn because you've got talent and he's going to squeeze the most out of what you have. And then they added some of those Dan Quinn glue guys, Keanu O'Neal and DeMonte KZ and some of those guys to come in and kind of help teach the defense, fill in some of those gaps. And they haven't looked back since. They're a damn good unit defensively. And he was a mess. I've been trying to chase him out of Dallas ever since. The biggest difference is he hasn't taken on a new job. He stayed in Dallas. Eric Bieniemy, the first opportunity he gets, he is gone. And I don't give a shit what it is. Okay. What organization it is, how bad of a shape they're in. He's taking the first thing smoking. So I think you could be right. I liken it to that, but we got so much shit that we got to fix on the offensive line that I'm just like, I don't know. Could be some big acquisitions coming at, whether it be free agency or the draft that could really help fortify the offensive line. But then again, and I said this earlier today, we don't really know what their plan is for the offensive line. We could be making a much bigger deal about the lack of, offensive line star power and depth. And they could be just saying, look, we just need a couple of offensive linemen. We really straight. Like Sadiq Charles was sitting there. I don't think he's going to make the team personally, but we'll see. But they could be saying, hey, Got Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle. Got Cornelius Lucas at right tackle. We're going to go ahead and kick Sam Cosmi inside permanently to right guard. We got Chris Paul at left guard. And now we just need to go out here and get a center. And then find some depth. And we straight. That could be their mindset. Which is a far cry from what we've been saying all offseason, which is, hey, give me 2 guards, maybe 3. Give me a guard that can play center, and then a true center, right? So right there, you're looking at 4 offensive linemen, potentially 3 or 4, right? You want a combo, a straight guard, a combo guard center, a combo guard center again, and then a straight center. And then you're like, hey, if you could throw a tackle in, that'd be nice too. So really it's 3. It would be a starting guard, a guard combo, and a starting center. Like that's what you're looking for. That's 3 offensive linemen. Whether you get that all in free agency, all in the draft, or a combination of the 2. And then a lot of people are like, hey man, we need to start planning for the future at tackle. Like Cornelius Lucas ain't the answer at right tackle, and Charles Leno Jr. is a Band-Aid at left tackle. You need to start getting the wheels in motion on both of them tackle positions if you kicking Cosmi inside. And if you kick Cosmi inside, you truly don't have a swing tackle if you're going to start Cornelius Lucas either. So, again, if you keep Sam Cosmi outside and you keep Lucas as your swing, you still need a right guard. I don't know how they feel about Chris Paul, but if you don't love him, then you need 2 starting guards and potentially a starting center as well. So, I don't know. I love that comparison is being made because he could be the biggest acquisition the entire offseason. He could be. We could look back and say, that's exactly what it was. Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, yo, Lou, Doc actually interacts with fans. I ain't trying to be out of pocket here, but would landing him on the show be possible for you? I'm pretty sure that I could get a number of people. And I said I was going to start, branching out and reaching out to people to be on the show. A lot of times I get so caught up in what I'm doing that I'm not really interested in reaching out to people. But I do want to get out of my shell, get out of my comfort zone. I told you that gem that was dropped on my melon today, that's going to be a staple for me. Comfort is the enemy of progress. I've been comfortable for far too long. Now I need to get out of my shell. I need to get out of my comfort zone. Because I've always had the mentality of I don't need anybody else's help. But I think I'm ready. I've been past ready, but I'm really ready now to get past that. And I've got my reasons as to why I've been that way. But I need to get past that. I need to move past that. So, yeah, and I've made advances at people to try to get them on the show, and I just haven't heard anything back. And I'm not one to chase people, but you don't always know what's the best way to contact people. So, and sometimes you just got to be persistent. And sometimes I'm not willing to do that. I see it as being worrisome. I'm not a worrisome dude. But sometimes you have to be persistent. So I just got to get outside of my head and stop being petty and just do what I need to do to get some of these people on the show. Because there are people that I would like to talk to. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, in the daytime, radio's scared of me because I'm mad. Plus, I'm Bieniemy. Don't believe the hype. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. It's always good when you slide some PE in there, right? We gonna see, because I know what you were doing there, but some people don't believe the hype. And that's not what you was intending that to be. But some people don't believe the hype. And I don't blame them for not jumping on the hype train right away. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, if I saw Sam on the street, I would give him $2. Chill, bro. Chill. Like, Sam is up here when he doesn't have to be. It's 11 o'clock. He just threw some shit on and he just came up here, man. We've seen Sam post game with his birds on and the suit. Like, Sam's good. Y'all know Sam, if he got to get clean, he can. I mean, everybody was chilling, and everybody chills differently. So, y'all lay off that dude. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, JL Smooth. Although I don't think this is actually you. I'm not sure. I could check, but I don't care enough. I'm just going to assume that this is not you until I'm proven otherwise. Y'all going to push for Maine? I can't see us re-signing him with our cap situation. Rumor have us trading for Judy, packaging Ed Oliver. Thoughts, Lou? Does sound like you. I don't know if we're going to push for Maine or not. Tremaine Edmonds, for those of you who don't understand the lingo. That's a name that's been floating around. You know how I feel about Tremaine Edmonds. And to your point, can't keep everybody. You already re-signed his running mate at the linebacker position. What was it? Feels like 2 off seasons ago. You already broke off Tre'Davious White. Can't pay everybody. So you paid your safeties. So somebody's got to go, right? You just paid Von Miller some good money. Can't pay everybody. He's going to get a big deal wherever he goes. I'm interested. I don't know if they're interested, but his name is surfaces. It surfaced when, talking about Washington. That's definitely a destination. I don't know if he was a fan of the team growing up, but he did go to Virginia Tech. They're right up the street. So I don't know. Makes a ton of sense on our end. It makes a ton of sense on his end. We'll see. He's definitely on a short list of linebackers. If we were to pursue one in free agency, he's on the short list of linebackers that I think they would be interested in. I'm definitely interested. Trading for Jerry Jeudy, and first of all, Ed Oliver has been, to me, a disappointment. He was one of the most heralded high school recruits when he went to Louisville, as the locals call it. And I just don't think he's ever really lived up to the hype. Or excuse me, Houston. He went to the University of Houston, not Louisville. He's never really lived up to the hype. Not in college, not in the pros. And so maybe the Broncos feel the same way about Jerry Jeudy. So you swap disappointing first rounders, maybe. I don't know. I would love Jerry Jeudy in Buffalo, but he's got to stay healthy. And he's got to catch the damn ball. He's still, he's gotten better with drops, but there's still the occasional concentration drop, and you just can't afford to have that shit in Buffalo, where those receivers seem to catch every damn thing. But he's a young, talented receiver that would fit right in what Buffalo's doing. But if I'm Buffalo, why would I trade for Jerry Jeudy when I can just draft a guy? You know, Jerry Jeudy, how many years does he have left on that rookie deal? I think Jeudy was the 2020 draft. Or was he? He's got to be the 2020 draft. So what are we talking? Year 4? Why trade for him? And again, if you're swapping disappointing players from the same draft class, cool. I don't have any issues with it. But honestly speaking, I would just rather draft my own guy. Have him for much longer. But I also understand that there's a window in Buffalo. And young players don't always come in immediately and have an impact. Whereas Jerry Jeudy been in the league 3-4 years. I think he's going into year 4, so 3 years. You expect him to come in, hit the ground running, whereas a rookie might have a learning curve. And you're trying to win a Super Bowl right now. You don't have 3 years for a rookie to develop. You need a dude to come in and contribute now. So I get that as well. That makes a ton of sense. So anyway, I digress. Jalen Dorsett, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Greatly appreciate you. I'm going to just read this super chat right here, or this comment right here. Do you truly believe in Sam Howell, brother? Yeah, I do. I do. I'm still skeptical, you know, but if you force me to say if he's going to be successful or not, I'd say he'd be successful, especially with Eric Bieniemy coming on board. I was less confident with Scott Turner around. I'm more comfortable and confident that his skill set will be nourished and he will be put in positions to highlight his strengths and minimize the things that he doesn't do well. Take advantage of his athleticism, all the while making sure that he's not put at risk too often and allowing him to do the things that he does well, i.e. throw the deep ball, i.e. quick release, get the ball out of hands accurately, which is something Ron talked about, which is what we talked about. You know, some of the throws in the Cowboys game, I love the deep ball. Who doesn't? That ball to Terry down the sideline, thing of beauty. The one that Jahan didn't catch. But guess what? Of his throws, the ones that I probably was more impressed and gushing over were the short throws. The comeback to Jahan that went to the outside on time that allowed him to run, catch that ball, turn outside shoulder up the sideline and almost go the distance. The slant that he threw to Jahan over the middle of the field that led him up the field and allowed him to get yards after catch, the shit that we hadn't seen much of the season, unless it was a shallow crosser or some shit like that. Hell, the shallow cross to Terry underneath. In stride, out in front of Terry, unlike the shit that Heineke threw to Terry against the Giants on a similar concept where Terry's got to reach back with one hand and catch the shit and then break a tackle. Terry was able to catch it out in front of him and not have to be touched. That's the shit that got me excited. So there's a lot of things that he brings to the table. And look, he's going to make mistakes. He's a young quarterback. That comes with the territory. But I think Sam Howell, I said this in my draft prospects one-on-one breakdown of him. Said it then, I feel the same way now. He's a wild card. There's a lot of traits there. There are a lot of workable things that you can take and make into a really good starting NFL quarterback. The biggest limitation on him is his size. He's not a tall guy. We're talking height. But everything else, it's there. Arm talent, quick release, can go through progressions, athleticism, can extend, can throw on the run. What's not to like? The only thing that he currently doesn't have is a ton of experience. He'll get it in the upcoming season. Thank you for the super chat, Jalen Dorsett. Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy. Big Money Sonny writes, we still changing the narrative, Lou? I don't know about that. With a new year comes a new, slogan. So we got to come up with something different. I'm not looking to change the narrative anymore. If Daniel Snyder's not here, F that shit. I'm looking to start anew. That might be the new saying this year is I'm looking to start anew. It's a new world order out here, man. That's what I'm looking to do. Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, saw a picture of E.B. Wright, Mayhew, Ron. Very cool. I didn't see that picture, but he talked about Jason Wright. He talked about all those dudes. Jason Wright, Martin Mayhew, obviously Ron Rivera, and he talked about Eric Stokes. So talked about knowing a lot of those dudes beforehand. He even said, I think he said this to Julie, that Marty Herney was on the staff as like an assistant GM or something like that, or a director of player personnel on the San Diego Chargers staff that drafted him back in 91. So he's got a history with just about every one of these dudes on Ron's staff. So it was amazing. Steve Wilkes, thank you, Joe Rockhead, was the Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator that got an opportunity to coach the Arizona Cardinals after Sean McDermott got the Bills job. So I forgot his name. I don't know why I was blanking on him. And he almost got the job in Carolina, did a hell of a job this year. D Moore, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. D Moore writes, don't forget about Titans head coach. That sounds real luckish to me. Now, if you're referencing all the coaches that didn't call a play, it's different when it's a defensive coordinator. If you're talking about coming from New England, he technically didn't come from New England because he played for Belichick, but he coached in Houston before he got his job in Tennessee. So I don't really hold defensive coaches to the same standard. You don't have to call plays as a defensive coach to get an opportunity. That's just not one of the prerequisites, if you will. But generally speaking, you get a head coaching job based off of you manning up a dominant defense. But there have been positional coaches, on the defensive side. Mike Tomlin wasn't a defensive coordinator when he got an opportunity. I don't think Raheem Morris was a positional defensive coordinator and had called any plays when he got an opportunity the first time around with Tampa Bay. And I'm pretty sure there are plenty of other guys that weren't necessarily defensive coordinators who got an opportunity because of their charisma and their spunk and their ability to go in, capture a room, and deliver a message about how you want to, run a franchise. So offense is a little different because generally I need to know ball. And if I'm bringing you here to mentor a young quarterback or to take this offense and, implement some of the things that you've done in the past, then I need to be able to have some tangible evidence that you're capable of doing that. So, and I've long said this, being a head coach, half of that battle is just relating to the players, motivating players. Yeah, you need to know ball, but Adam Gase knew ball. He couldn't relate to players. He was awkward, socially awkward. Shit didn't work. Peyton Manning swore by Adam Gase. That's how he got 2 jobs. Adam Gase was terrible in New York with the Jets. He got fired and immediately got a job with the Dolphins. And you're like, wait a minute, why did they give him the job again? He was awful in New York, and he was awful in Miami. Like, who didn't see that coming? But it was because he knew ball, and it didn't hurt that he knew Peyton Manning, and Manning kept advocating for him. But he knew ball. He didn't know players. He didn't know people. He's weird. Anyway, I don't think you have to, call plays in this league, and they've proven that by a lot of the hires. You don't have to call plays in this league. You know ball, and you can relate to players. That's how you win in this league. And then you hire the right guys and put them in place, and you delegate and you allow them to do their jobs. D Moore, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes? Not big on Sam Howell, but I've been wrong before. You don't have to be big on Sam. Sam needs to go out and prove it. He was a 5th round pick for a reason. Okay. That draft class wasn't super impressive. And most people said there was only one guy worthy of going in the 1st round. And some people didn't even love him as a 1st round pick, and Kenny Pickett. But I thought that he was a guy that could have easily gone in the 2nd. Thought he would go in the 2nd, no later than the 3rd. Thought he was a day 2 selection for sure. And he ended up being a 5th rounder. So we'll see. You may not be high on him, and you might be right. I mean, he may turn out to be a total dud, or he might be exactly where he was drafted, a 5th round pick. Solid NFL backup quarterback. No shame in that. Jason Files, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Jason, writes, Lou, different. Really felt like a head coach presser. Do you think that locker room could be split or Ron could lose the locker room now? I don't see that. First of all, Ron is well respected and liked in that locker room. It'd be one thing if Ron was on some Urban Meyer type shit, and here's this offensive coordinator here that we respect and we would love him to get an opportunity. Or I'd give you an even better characterization. In Carolina, those players really couldn't care less about Matt Rule. They love them some Steve Wilkes. And he has a Eric Bieniemy type of personality. No nonsense. Tells it like it is. And those players respected that because Matt Rule was the direct opposite. Ron's not that. He's not disliked. Players aren't tuning him out. They respect Ron. So I don't see factions and cliques being formed in the locker room. We're Team Rivera. We're Team Bieniemy. I don't see that happening. Because at the end of the day, they're all there for one common goal. Now, are they going to be sad if he ends up getting a job? Hell yeah, they don't want him to leave. I remember Micah Parsons after his rookie season pretty much practically begging Dan Quinn to stay. Like, bro, please don't leave me. And then when Quinn stayed, he was so excited. But they know, like, nobody's striving. No one's goal or end game is to be a coordinator. You get into this thing to be a head coach. You don't put in all this work to be under somebody and taking orders from somebody. You get into this thing to be calling the shots. So I don't think there'll be any dissension or animosity. They'll respect him for what it is. I think the closest we've ever seen, and it never came to one or the other. It's just, hey, that's our guy and that's y'all guy. Was the 85 Bears. If you've ever watched that documentary, like, the defense was their own entity. The offense was their own entity, right? Ditka handled the offense. Buddy Ryan handled the defense. The defense, look, they were one team, but that was Buddy Ryan's defense. They carried him off the field when they won the Super Bowl. I think they said that's the only time, and it could have happened since. That was the only time that both the head coach and a coordinator were carried off the field simultaneously after a Super Bowl win. They loved Buddy Ryan because he told them the night before the Super Bowl that he was taking the job in Philadelphia and that would be the last time he was going to coach them. And they went nuts, breaking desks. And, I think they broke the chalkboard. That was back in the days when you did your film study and your meetings in an actual classroom with an actual chalkboard. They broke that. They were throwing chairs and shit. They were upset. But it was never, hey, you stay and Mike needs to go. They understand the business. He's a coordinator, and coordinators are looking to become head coaches. So no, I don't think it'll turn into anything unless Ron does something that causes the players to lose respect for him in the locker room, and Bieniemy is coaching his ass off. But I can't see Ron doing anything that would force the players to turn on him. He's never been that kind of a coach. Never. And I don't see it starting this year. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, why do Hard Knocks when we have LTN? Well, Hard Knocks is behind the scenes access that you can't really get anywhere else. You get to know players on a personal level that you don't get by just little tidbits from the website. We get that JD McKissick is a jokester and that him and, Antonio Gibson have a great, big brother, little brother relationship. You get that from the little tidbits that they give us. Curtis Samuel is a funny dude. You get that from the little tidbits. But you really want to get to know these players, Hard Knocks is how you do that. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy JP writes, can we talk draft for a second? Sure. We need to get one of those stud cornerbacks at 16. The teams we play this year all have beast wide receivers, so cornerback is a must at 16. You're making an assumption that you can't get good cornerback play anywhere else but in the first round. And that's not true. So, again, 16 would be a great spot to take a corner. And I think it's a sweet spot because somebody's going to be there. And this is a really good cornerback draft. So somebody's going to be there, whether it's Porter Jr., whether it's Witherspoon, whether it's Gonzalez, somebody's going to be there. I can tell you this, all of them aren't going to be good corners in the NFL. One or two of them might be successful. Somebody's going to stink. You just got to make sure you don't end up with the guy that's funky. So I'm not opposed to a corner at 16. I think that's what most people are mocking us to select. But again, we'll see what happens. You can get a corner in the second round and feel good about them. We got Juice in the third round, if I'm not mistaken. We love him. So you don't have to take a corner in the first round, is all I'm telling you. But there are going to be some good ones sitting there at 16 that's going to make it pretty hard to pass up on the position. I'll just say that. If you're looking to maximize value at 16, if you're not looking to trade back out of the selection, corner is probably going to give you the best bang for your buck, but we'll see. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, I want to run through a wall after seeing EB's presser. That's the mark of a great motivator, which I think is half the battle of being a head coach, is you've got to be able to motivate guys. And everybody's way of motivating isn't the same. Some are rah-rah guys, some are, do your job guys, but you got to be able to motivate players. He has that gift. I see where this is going. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. We're just going to go ahead and do it. 2, 0, 2, 3. Ah, you got me. Once I got to the 2, I was like, this isn't another 0. He says, you thought I was going to say 2005, huh? Yeah, I did. You got me. I'm not going to lie. You got me. After I was like, did I just get got? Is this about to be some D's nuts at the end or something? I was like, because I was like, okay, 2005. Now that's on my list of, hey, don't fall for that shit again. I hope you know what you just did. Now that's on the APB list. All right. So we won't be doing that again. Rolando Cedeno, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Rolando writes, hey, LT, what's up? What's going on, Rolando? Feels like it's been a while since we've chopped it up, man. Always good to hear from you. He says the secret weapon in KC's offense isn't Mahomes, it's Kelsey. He's been a Pro Bowler since Alex Smith was his quarterback. What do you think about going after Evan Ingram? Again, here's the thing about the tight end position. I know you guys want more production. I know you want better, but we have some stuff at tight end. I don't think they're interested in going out and upgrading a position that they feel really comfortable with. And I don't disagree with them. Okay. We have a lot of positions that require upgrading. That it's mandatory. This is not optional. If you do not do this, then we have a problem. Tight end isn't one of them. If you're not getting rid of Logan Thomas, and I've already told you, from the people that I've spoke, they're not getting rid of Logan Thomas. He's viewed as a leader in that locker room. They feel like he was underutilized because of Scott Turner and the injury last year. He didn't get healthy until roughly week 10 or so. And so they feel like him being healthy, coupled with a play call that's going to actually give him opportunities to catch the football, they feel like Logan Thomas and Cole Turner and Amani Rodgers and John Bates are a really good group of tight ends and a really good, well-balanced room. So I don't see them making a move. So I don't see us going after Evan Ingram. I was interested in Evan Ingram last year when he was out here on a 1-year prove-it deal. Well, he proved it. Somebody's going to pay him. It won't be us. Let's see. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, hey yo, someone send Mern a couple dollars for a super. No. Y'all chill. Marcus Dixon, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Marcus writes, this feels like another 7-win season away from everyone being canned and this being all for naught. Even if our offense is amazing, he will get fired too. And that could be the case. This is why people keep saying I'm pissing on the parade and this, that, and the third. I'm just keeping it a buck, man. Been here, done that. While I'm excited about Eric Bieniemy coming in here, in my way of thinking and what I've seen with this team, because I don't think our defense is elite. Far from it, as a matter of fact. So, in my mind, even if the offense is improved, whatever steps we take forward offensively, we'll take backwards defensively. That's kind of how I feel. So, if we're scoring 25 points a game offensively, well, we're giving up 24. And the only reason that we're averaging more than we're giving up is because we had a couple of offensive outbursts, but still didn't lead to any more than 8 wins. You know what I'm saying? So I got to see it to believe it, that we can have 2 units playing complementary football and us. First of all, until it actually happens, can you see us actually getting out to leads and not playing from behind and not nursing a 1 possession lead late in the fourth quarter? Like, can you see that? Because I can't. I haven't seen it, so I can't envision it. I went on blind faith last year and it didn't work out well for me. So I'm out of that. I'm out of that game. That wasn't fun. I'll just say this. I'm excited about Eric Bieniemy. I'm excited about the prospects of what he brings to the table and what he could potentially be. But in order for me to believe that this is going to be something more than 7-8 wins, I'm going to have to see improvement from the defense. Because while the defense was good last year, I think there were too many times that people gave the defense a pass because the offense was so bad. But just because the offense isn't good doesn't mean the defense can't be better and can't step up. We got away with a lot of shit last year. I don't think y'all realize that defensively. We got away with a lot of shit that we shouldn't have. We had no business beating the Bears. They dominated us in that game. Justin Fields stinks, or at least he did in that game. We had no business beating Jacksonville. Okay, in week 1. We did some good things against Minnesota, but we had no business beating Green Bay. They dropped so many passes in that game. They botched a 4th down when they had a wide open receiver for a touchdown, and Rodgers just didn't see it. We didn't do anything special. Rodgers said after that game, they didn't do anything special. We just didn't execute. He's not wrong. He's not wrong. Every time we would score a touchdown, we would take a 2-possession lead, or what I always say, I need a shutdown drive. And what would we always do? Give up points. While the defense was good, it wasn't great, and we didn't play great offenses last year. So in my mind, we're going to regress against better offenses next year. And so the incremental gains that we may see from the offense may be negated by the defense taking a step back, which is why I'm not, super excited about the overall season right now, but I am super excited about the offense. And I hope I'm wrong about the defense. And I'm hoping that there are some, moves made that improve the defense. And it takes this monumental leap, and Chase Young steps his game up, and they get either Cole Holcomb back, or they go out and sign a free agent linebacker, and he's a beast, and it cleans up some things, and we get better play out of the safety position, or really the nickel in particular. And maybe the defense is much better. But right now, I don't really see it. So we'll see what happens. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, dang, Lou, that EB presser got you talking about getting out of your shell. Also, he is easy to get a hold of on Twitter, I think. He actually followed me, LOL. Some people are like that. Some people get on social media and what he does, because I don't know if you know this, but Doc is a motivational speaker. He does speaking engagements. When you do those things, when you're speaking to young people, you have to be in their circles. You have to be on social media. You have to be engaging. So I'm not shocked that, Doc is a relatively easy guy to get a hold of and have him follow you and all that good stuff. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Rex. Rick Doc Walker, that is. I know exactly who you're talking about. We started the conversation earlier, so I didn't forget. Rolando Cedeno, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Rolando writes, Bobby Wagner is a free agent. Would you go after him? I'm interested. I said this earlier. I'm interested. I don't think he's interested in us. Remember, interest is a two-way street, right? We could have been interested in Eric Bieniemy. He could have wanted nothing to do with us. That would have been the end of the discussion. We've seen coaches that we were interested in interviewing that said, nah, I'm good. I'm going to pass. Thanks. I'm good. Appreciate the offer, though. So the interest wasn't mutual. I don't think the interest would be mutual with Bobby Wagner. I think there'll be other teams that are suitors for him that will be more interesting than Washington. I already threw out a team like Buffalo, for instance. If you think your Super Bowl window is right now, if you're the Bills, which it is, and you're not retaining the services of a Tremaine Edmonds this offseason, wouldn't Bobby Wagner be the perfect replacement for him? Not saying that you don't go out and draft a young guy, but even if you do, him learning from Bobby Wagner would be excellent. Just makes a ton of sense. So there'll be opportunities for him to go places that they're right there on the cusp, and we're not one of them. So Commanders Chaplain Rev Rashid Fry, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate, or excuse me, stand up. You're the newest member of the MOBB. We've chopped it up before in the past, but there's always something different when you're a member of the MOBB, man. It hits a little different. So I appreciate you, Mob. Y'all know what to do. Welcome the Rev to the squad. All right. Mind your P's and Q's, Y's and Z's. All right. Be respectful. And Rev, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. William Rogers Jr., thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, EB witnessed what happens with bad tackles against Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. The Chiefs lost. The Hogs won championships with 3 different quarterbacks. Kind of important. Their offensive line is literally the biggest entity that exists on the offensive side of the football, not named quarterback. And even the best quarterback in the league right now was rendered irrelevant behind a shoddy offensive line. By the time they got to the Super Bowl against Tampa, remember, one, he was already hobbled with a foot or ankle injury. Two, they were decimated by injuries on the offensive line, and so they were a shell of themselves, offensive line-wise, and they were absolutely taken to the woodshed. And so it is imperative that you have offensive line play in this league. Imperative. So I think I think he'll understand that. So Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Rams release Bobby Wagner. Should we finesse? Already talked about that a few times. I'm interested. I don't think he's interested in us. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, comfort is the enemy of discomfort. Me. Good one. Good one. I like it. I like it a lot. I see my guy Luck has entered the chat. I thought you was here already. I always say when people like, where's Luck? He in here somewhere. Damn it. Even when he claims, hey, I wasn't even there. Sure, you're right. You in here somewhere, damn it. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Rocky D, writes, wait, first of all, double up, thank you for doubling up. Who writes, they showed a small snippet of Terry's conversation with EB. Terry ready for that hard coaching just based on their interaction. I hope the rest of the team follows suit. I thought Terry said it best. And Terry, I talked about this earlier in the show for those of you who just got here. There's a 21-minute video on the Washington Commanders YouTube channel where they mashed together the scrums of Terry, Ron Rivera, and Jahan Dotson. Terry's was first. It was roughly like 6 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes. Ron's was like 12, 13 minutes long. And then Jahan had the last like minute and a half. And Terry talked about that type of coaching and needing to be pushed. And he thinks this locker room is ready for that. And really, I think more so than anything else, this locker room is ready to win. And they're ready to win at all costs. And so if somebody's coming in there yelling to get their point across, I think they're ready to embrace that because they're willing to do whatever it takes to win. That's kind of the way that I took it, the message that Terry was delivering. Now, remember, I stressed this already. Terry went to Ohio State. Urban Meyer is a hard ass. We got a lot of Alabama players on the roster. Nick Saban is a notorious hard ass. So this isn't new to some of these guys. A lot of these guys in the locker room, actually. So not everybody comes from a background where your coaches put your arm around you type of guy. A lot of these coaches, especially football. I played every sport, not at a high level, but I played a lot of sports. And of all the sports I played, no sport do they cuss more and yell more than football. So, basketball is a different breed and a different because these athletes have been coddled. They're playing on the AAU circuit. You're trying to get them to play with your team. You can't be fussing and cussing at them. All right. Not when they've been told how good they are since they were, 5 years old. You can't be fussing. They're going to take their ball and play somewhere else. So it's different in that environment. Baseball, that's just, they yell and fuss, but that's not how they get their point across in baseball a lot of times, right? Football, though, they yelling at the top of their damn lungs. They cussing at you. All of their mouths are nasty. I don't know if I've been in a football environment where they weren't dropping F-bombs every other word. So I think most of these dudes are preconditioned to that type of stuff. Anyway, I digress. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny writes, salutes to Luck and Mega in the building. They always in the building, man. Especially Luck, but Mega's always here too. Gordo Americano, Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Big Money Sonny is hood rich, Lou. He just humble. That's my guy, man. That is my guy. Oh, man. Hood rich. Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, everyone, let's come together and donate 1 megabyte each of internet for Mern. He gone because his internet ran out. Big Money Sonny. Come on, bro. Cash App the man. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, real talk, Lou. Your notifications aren't popping up either on YouTube or in the Discord. What's up with that? It's them whack division fans sabotaging. Again, you're not the only one to tell me that, and I've sworn to people that I would be better about, putting up stuff on social media, that I was going live. I got to be better. And my assumption, and I'm wrong for making this assumption, is that people are watching the videos. I always tell you when I'm going live, specifically with this, because I tell you all the time, oh, I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow, and then I don't. But rarely do I tell you I'm doing a Washington show and I don't do it. You know what I'm saying? Podcast, if I have to push something, it's usually going to be the podcast. I don't push Washington shows. They're too important. So usually if you watch the shows, I tell you, hey, we're going to be live Wednesday this week. I got this going on. But the standard during the off season is Thursday night, we're live, right? 9:30. You know where to find me. It's like, it doesn't change. Thursday night, 9:30, we live, right? Unless otherwise notified. That's standard operating procedure. So usually I feel like, oh, everybody knows when but they don't. Not everybody does. So I have to be better. So I'm not leaving it in the hands of YouTube to send out notices, because they don't always do it. I get that from people all the time. Damn, I didn't get the notification. The bell is on. They didn't get the shit. So I just got to be better. I can't trust that YouTube's going to do the job that it's supposed to do. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I appreciate each and every single one of y'all for chopping it up with the kid tonight. It was a great show, like it always is, and I look forward to chopping it up with y'all. We'll talk more down the line about some of these guys that may come in here. I think they're going to try to get Greg Lewis on board. That's Eric Bieniemy's guy. He was he was a wide receivers coach initially. Remember, he was a Eagles wide receiver for many years under Andy Reid. That's how he got the job in Kansas City as the wide receivers coach. And then he switched over to running backs coach this year. So he's got running back and wide receiver background. He may come here and go back to his wide receiver chops, because Drew Terrell, who was the wide receivers coach, no longer here. So there's an opening at receivers coach. Greg Lewis may be filling that void. There's other names. Stevens, the offensive coordinator at Stanford, Tavita Stevens, could end up being here in some capacity working with quarterbacks. So they're thinking he could, do wonders for Sam Howell. And they said if he were to come here in that capacity, doesn't necessarily mean that Ken Zampese is gone. Just means that they would reconfigure what his title would be. So I think there are still some things left to iron out. Ron said in that little snippet that I told you guys about, and I may go back and do a video on just based off of that. It was so much information in there that he said that they would like to have a lot of these coaches in place by the combine, but it may not be feasible for them to get all of this stuff done and get everything, signed, sealed, and delivered, and dots on the I's, crosses on T's, that sort of thing. So I think they want to get this stuff done sooner rather than later, but I don't know if they will. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, I digress. Got a super chat here from Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, the art of deal is really about big money, Sonny. Gordo Americano. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, it was originally called the art of the steal. Big money Sonny be out here slanging these shoes, man. He's an entrepreneur. Maybe in more ways than one. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Rocky D, writes, will there ever be a time when you'll interview a player on this show? That will be dope. I actually did interview a player once upon a time. And I'm looking into doing that. You know, I'm looking to expand my tentacles to the players. And in doing that, though, it's about who you know, not what you know. And you have to establish relationships to get that done. You establish relationships, and then they'll look out for you, you know, but I haven't gotten to that point yet. This is why I have to get out of my shell, leave my comfort zone, which is the comfort of my home, and get out and mingle and meet people, shake hands, you know, and get out there and have this be like a grassroots effort. But it's coming because I'm ready to expand, you know. But once upon a time, I don't know if you guys remember Richard Crawford, who was on the team that had that big punt return back in 2012 against the Ravens in overtime. I literally had him on the show the next year. He tore his ACL, and I had him on my show. We were talking about his recovery and that big punt return against the Ravens. And I just started the channel. I think it was like in 2013 when I talked to him, 2013 or something like that. I was nervous as hell. I wouldn't be nervous now. You know, I just started the channel not too long ago. Man, I was nervous. But I did a really good job. You probably, I think you couldn't tell if you listened to it. It's probably still on the channel. I had to guess. But anyway, I digress. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Luck writes, I know exactly what Sonny be selling. I knew somebody was going to go there. And I know where you going with it. Biggie Steve, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Biggie Steve writes, if Lamar Jackson becomes available, do you see EB getting the okay to go after him? Again, EB isn't a head coach. He's an offensive coordinator. So he doesn't get the green light to go after players. That's Ron Rivera's job. That's Martin Mayhew's job. That's Marty Herney and Eric Stokes. That's above Eric Bieniemy's pay grade. They're not going to bend over backwards to go get a quarterback for Eric Bieniemy for him to leave after a year or two here and then say, all right, we got to go get somebody that can coach Lamar Jackson. If they want Lamar Jackson, it won't be because Eric Bieniemy wants him. It's going to be because Ron Rivera wants him. So I don't think Eric Bieniemy, he'll have some say-so. It's not like they're going to say, hey, we like Lamar Jackson, whether you like him or not, we're going to get him. He'll have input, but it won't be EB saying, look, I love Lamar Jackson. You got to go get him. That's not how it works. Amar, 2 times official. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, y'all some ops for real. Leave BMS alone. LOL. Hey, go ahead, man. That's our guy. Big Money Sonny's our guy. Rocky D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Rocky D writes, what a news photojournalist up in Baltimore. He says, I am a news photojournalist up in Baltimore. I can give you some pointers, or if I get some connection, I'll direct you them to you if you want. I appreciate and accept any offers to help. Not going to turn that down. So you get any connects, because again, this is a people's business. It's a people business. The more people you know, the more connections that will grow, the more tapped in you are, the more likely somebody's going to come on your show. So I'll take it. If you got any connects, send them my way. I appreciate that. Anyway, I digress. I'm pretty sure I'm going to do a podcast tomorrow or today. We'll see. But that's the plan. The intent is to do a podcast. But as usual, got shit going on with the twins, you know. And literally when I say I got shit going on with the twins, I changed about 9 shitty diapers today. You know, I know what the hell's going on, but it wasn't pretty. So pray for me. Anyway, I digress. Gordo Americano, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, BMS my guy too, but if the Fed's offering a meal, just saying. Don't worry, big money Sonny. I ain't snitching on you, bro. Anyway, I digress. Gonna do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the command post. You know what it is. Post up, take command. I, of course, am your set man, Louie T, and I look forward to chopping it up with you guys tomorrow on the podcast. If not, look out for a new installment of the Draft 101 shorts. I'll be uploading the next one in the series tomorrow. And remember, if you want to see a prospect, be the first in the comment section to leave the hashtag LTN with the name of the prospect that you would like to see next. So keep your eyes peeled for that as we continue on with that series as well. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, and I might put together that Ron Rivera video for you guys over the weekend. We'll see. But if I don't, I'll see you guys next week. Enjoy. What a day yesterday was. Looking forward to this offseason continuing to go in the direction that it started. It's going well. Let's keep the party going. I'll see you guys next time. God bless. Good night.